RENARS PODCAST.
Today we have Laura Deshivanovitz.
Yeah,
She's here on the podcast. And she is a life coach. That's a really big thing, which you're going to be talking about later. She's a Zouk teacher, dancer, and she is a real estate person. And she's also my friend for the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. And friend is also probably a big word. She's like, a friend, just annoying guy she knows. Hey, Laura, how are you?
Good, thanks. I think that was a better description, actually.
Yeah, did I miss anything? Was there anything else what you would identify yourself with and what you do?
I'm also involved in learning development. So that's learning development advisor.
Learning development advisor, what the hell is that?
Learning and development advisor. So it's a position in an organization that basically goes through training, coaching, and...
That's what you do when you work for a company, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah.
So four big things.
Three things. So the office job, property stuff, coaching stuff, and then Zouk, which is kind of,
It's more like a hobby, but still it's a
while.
huge part of your life.
Massive, yeah.
Yeah.
Massive.
And that's how we met, actually. Do you remember? It was like 7, 9, 10. How many years ago we met?
About 10.
Yeah.
I remember the first conversation we had, which I know I've told you before. Do you remember it? It was about...
What was it? Octopuses.
Yeah, octopuses. And what's the smallest spaces they can get into?
Yeah, and I was making jokes about what it sounds like. Octa.
Oh, God, yeah. That sounds about right.
Wait. Hey.
No, it was more like, wah, wah, wah.
No, that sound is just for you today. Cool. Which one we should start with? What are you the most passionate? Let's start with dancing, since we met with dancing scene. So it was very interesting because I started dancing salsa, like a Latin dance, in Canada. And when I moved to UK, I thought, ooh, that's a great way to meet people, especially good-looking people. And and I was like, okay, I'm going to go to salsa. But in London, it was madness. I went to this place called Salsa Club, whatever. It was just so crazy, aggressive, busy, just ugh. And someone told me, go check out Zouk. Mm-hmm. For people who never heard of Zouk, it's spelled Z-O-U-K. And and then I went to Zouk and I met you. And the community is much smaller than salsa or merengue, bachata, those other ones. But yeah, how did you get into Zouk?
I don't even remember. It was ages ago. I think I just decided to go. I've always loved dance as far back as I can remember. So I said to my friend, Wifey, who you know.
Wifey, that's a nickname for her friend.
It's actually called Aishen.
Just a totally normal, call your friend a wife.
Yeah, wifey. And the best thing is I call her wifey, she calls me wifey, so that's not confusing. Anyway, so we decided to go to dance. I think I went with wifey, I'm pretty sure it was. And yeah, we tried Zouk and I just loved it just straight away. It's just, in fact, the other day I wrote a post about it, that it just feels like, it just, you just get transported almost like to a magical parallel universe where you just forget everything.
You turn into Billy Elliot. Your electricity just goes through you. You just forget about everything.
Yeah, on the spot, exactly. Just like within a millisecond.
I just watched that Billy Elliot. Such a good movie. I was crying again.
Yeah,
it was beautiful. Have you seen it?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
You have to watch it. No, seriously. You as a dancer, mover, it's honestly, it opens some crazy little areas. And then there's like, because he comes from this family who go through this madness of strikes and miners in, was it Scotland, Ireland, somewhere there. And it is very interesting, for dancers.
What part made you cry? That made you emotional?
Because I could relate to my life. Because when I was upset, when I had issues at home and stuff, I literally dancing, music, movement, I could just forget everything. Yeah. I remember sometimes I would just... there's this like, what do you call it? Like a prancing. When you come home, instead of walking, you start prancing. And like imagining there's a music.
Is that what you did?
I'm weird. But that's, that was, I could relate to that. But you say it takes you to a different kind of universe. But what about other ones like salsa, merengue, bachata? They don't? But they kind of.
Yeah, no, nothing like Zouk. I don't know, I've tried salsa. The music, I can't really get into it. Bachata, similar. I don't mind bachata. Kizomba, I actually don't mind, or urban kiz. I think it's quite nice, quite playful, and I quite like the music, but nothing's got it like Zouk.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing that we have that variety. Can you imagine that's it, just salsa, there's nothing else.
Yeah.
But what would you say for last, again, like I started, when I used to live in East London, so I was able to travel to Central London much easier than now. What would you say in the last 10 years, how the kind of scene has been changed? And
I think it was definitely growing, which is great. I think it's more appealing because Zouk's always been smaller than salsa. I think salsa's always been bigger.
Yeah.
It's more mainstream. It's more known. Like every time, I say to someone, I'm dancing, they're like, oh, you do salsa. I'm like, no. It's like salsa, but I kind of say it's like salsa, but better.
yeah, it's like, where are you from? From Latvia. Where's Latvia? Near Russia. Oh, so you're Russian.
Yeah. No, exactly. So so it's kind of, but yeah, it's definitely growing. I think it's changing as well. The style is changing. At least from kind of when I started now, it feels like it's a little more kind of, I don't know, kind of hip-hoppy vibe as well that gets introduced now a lot more, which I really like.
But that's one of the main things what I like about Zouk. They were welcoming all the other styles. Not only dance styles, but also music styles. There was a point where we were dancing and there was a dubstep somehow put in with Zouk, which I loved. And then it was hip-hoppy as well, as you say. But then they go like Justin Bieber and like just all. That's what I really enjoyed about Zouk, musicality, and they were so open to experiment and invite all the other kind of different type of music. Salsa doesn't do that.
Right.
Salsa is very like, okay, it only has to be this language, which I don't understand.
Yeah.
And then I love dancing and understand what the words mean.
Yeah, no, exactly. I find like for salsa, I don't get the same. I mean, to be fair, I haven't tried it that much. I've only kind of dipped in a handful of times, but I don't feel the same kind of variety. For me, it's not as dynamic as Zouk. Like Zouk, you can be really slow, it can be really kind of sensual, and then it can be quite explosive and kind of quite quick and big movements and elaborate. So, but I thought you were going to say, I don't know if you remember the time I was dancing with you. Oh my gosh.
It was probably the best time you
I'm sure it
think
was.
of.
Yeah, so it's more like it's, it was, where was it? It was in Holborn, and everyone was dancing as, you do, on the floor, right? And getting along and whatever, and in partner dance. And you, of course, when I was dancing you had to get on the table.
Oh yeah, I did get on the table.
You remember that? Yeah, I was like, what are you doing right now? I was so embarrassed because you were the only one that's doing that.
Yeah.
Just completely broke all social norms and just decided to start dancing on your own on the table as if you were in like, what is it, Coyote Ugly, is that the film?
No. If it would be like Greatest Showman.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd assign that title, but yeah.
Because it's all about the show and stuff, and I love to embarrass you. That's one of my like purposes in my life.
Yeah, I know, you did very well.
Yeah, Laura. Anytime we in public, she's so easy to embarrass. And then I do something loud and weird, and she's like, "Stop!" And I was like, "Why?" Well, because people watching you, but we don't know those people.
No, but the point is, I did know those people because the dancing scene is slightly different, right? But
it's me. It's not on you. It's like
I know, but I'm with you.
No, it's like
as in we're dancing together. It's a partner dance, right? So if we're dancing together,
but you're not in charge of my moves. Like this guy's by himself. He's just mad.
Yeah, but
madly cool.
Yeah.
What was that?
That was a polite disagreement. The style is just, it's evolving like all the other styles. I think it's now a little bit of a blend of other different kind of dances as well. I don't know how much it is kind of like Zouk is inspired by bachata, or bachata is inspired by Zouk, for example, but there are some similarities and overlaps, which I think is quite nice. Like
When you say lambada, is that song? Da 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 da. Is that lambada?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
So why they just from one song it becomes a style? It's lambada style.
No, it's not from the song. It's an actual dance style in itself.
Really?
Everyone just it's not everyone just associates it with that particular song.
Because that's how I know. I remember.
Right.
So what is lambada then?
Well, it's a different style altogether.
Really?
Right. Yeah.
I always thought it was just a song.
No.
Because in Latvia, that was the first international song we ever had. What language she sings? It's Portuguese.
Yeah.
Putsified.
Putsified.
Something. I don't know.
That's definitely not a word in any language.
My godfather gave me this radio as a gift, like the little one with the batteries, and I remember I was listening to that song.
Yeah. Just going to say again, that's definitely not a word in any language, putsified, right? Just bring it out there.
Whatever. Yeah. And then, I thought that's a song. And then how crazy is that Jay Leno? The singer. What's her name? J-Lo.
J-Lo.
Jay Leno.
J Lo.
J-Lo. Yeah, she just stole it, that song. And she used lambada in one of her songs.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, and she went all over the place. And I don't know if you're probably too serious to watch that kind of
You look shocked by that,
programs. Where what? That she stole it?
Yeah, you look like you've almost been like mortified, like you've been
Yeah,
like
but
personally
how-
impacted by that.
Yeah, but then she just like became super famous or like get a lot of attention because like it's her song, but it's not her song. She stole the song.
Okay, just take it up with her
No, no, no.
personally.
Do you follow South Park at all? Oh my God, South Park! You know they take piss out of all different celebrities.
Yeah.
And it had this whole thing about J Lo.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah,
She got really upset about it, and it was J Lo and Ben Affleck.
she actually got pissed, like she got annoyed
Yeah,
and
yeah,
pissed
yeah.
off in real life.
In real life,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah.
Oh no, what happened?
So she got very angry, and then she's like, again, like a lot of other celebrities tried to sue them, and yada yada yada. I mean, but the way the South Park, I mean, kudos to you guys. It's amazing how they done this with Tom Cruise, where he's stuck in a closet and can't get out of the closet.
No, completely over my head. I've not seen it at all.
Anyways, yes. So check it out. Okay. I know you're busy with listening and watching documentaries about important stuff, but sometimes it's cool to.
I don't watch as many documentaries as you think I watch. You think I'm watching documentaries
Every time
24/7?
I've seen Laura since like 10 years we know each other, every time we meet up, she's like, "Hey, by the way, there's this documentary like about this."
I don't say it's amazing that you've known me for 10 years and that's what you think I sound like, first of all. Right? That's the first thing.
That's just how I sound when I.
Yeah. And the second thing is I watch them once in a while. Once in a while.
Once
It's
in a while.
interesting. You want to learn?
Every other day. Once in a while.
I want to learn you. Wait, you put it on. That's it. You need that to signify that it's a joke, right?
Yeah.
Because people won't get it otherwise.
So Faha, what do you know about Faha? You say you don't know nothing.
Zero.
I had one of my. He was actually sitting in that seat. That seat is very famous, by the way. There's been like many very important butts been sitting there. One of the last ones was the Fabio, who's literally it's like a copy of me, but Brazilian. We literally.
God, two of you.
Yeah,
Jesus.
exactly the same age. We're just one day apart.
Right.
How crazy is that? And yeah, he's in stance and he's a crazy athlete, whatever. And he dances for all the time. So he posts like how do you dance and stuff. I went a couple of times, tried it, didn't get it at all. Apparently I had to learn the moves. I was too.
Well, that's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, what did you do? Go on the table and do your own thing
I
again?
had not patience to learn them.
What? But you're so good at learning different things, like as in physical stuff. You pick it up and.
I know. I don't know what's wrong with the dancing stuff. As soon as I need to learn the actual how, I don't know.
I know, because I've been there with you. So.
For many times.
Yeah, I do know.
I just developed my own style.
You just do your own thing.
So weird.
Yeah, pretty much.
Renars. What else about Zouk? So then you've been teaching now for how long?
I don't know when I started. I think it was 2018, 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's once in a while. I wouldn't say it's kind of a consistent thing. It's every so often, every few weeks, I'll do the beginners.
Just like documentaries.
Just like documentaries, exactly. Yeah, I watch a documentary and then I go teach. That's how it works.
Do you do both at the same time?
No, that's like too far fetched. Yeah. So yeah, every couple of weeks I'll teach, but it's just so much fun, because I'm teaching with.
And you can
with
tell
the team.
people off. And that's why it's so fun. You straighten that leg, smack.
Smack. Yeah, that's good. That's it. Just engage the eyebrows. Look really serious.
Yeah, your eyebrows are engaged by mile. See the eyebrows, and then Laura comes later.
That's it.
Yeah. So what? Teaching. Where? So people who are listening to this, if they're in London, where are the places where they can go dance Zouk?
Well, we just actually moved. So it's on a Monday night. And we're just moving from this week, in fact, to Tiger in Piccadilly.
Yeah,
so
been there many times. Nice place.
Yeah, really nice. So we're just going back there again. We're going to have the main floor, which is pretty cool. It's on the same level as the bar, and it's a really cool atmosphere, actually.
And if people want to find out about Zouk scene in general, they just Google Zouk in London, or is there like a Facebook page where you guys posting stuff?
Yeah, Instagram. So it's Zouk Lambada UK or UKDC. Both really are good spots. But yeah, it's you know what it is. It's not only the dancing; it's also the social element as well that comes from it.
Oh yeah,
because you get to, like you say, you get to meet people and create new friendships. I've got so many new friendships on the back of Zouk, and not only that, I really feel like it's been, through like difficult periods, it's almost been like a form of therapy.
Yeah.
I don't know, like dance therapy. Does that exist? I think it does.
Like release.
Yeah.
Just go and release all the energy out of the movement. That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's so special.
Yeah. And then also we had different kind of people being in charge and funny enough, I met, I forgot his name now. He used to be in charge of the nights with his wife, I think, or girlfriend. And he was on a film set. He was doing makeup. And I was like, I know you. And he's like, how do you know me? From Zook. And he's like, oh, shit.
Who's it? Who you talking about?
I've forgotten his name.
I have no idea who you're talking
Really?
about.
He's quite in the shape, shorter guy, like my height.
Oh, Joe.
Exactly, shape, shorter guy, like
Oh, Joe,
Joe.
he's one of the main. He's like, that's what I learned from Joe and Solange.
That's his wife, right?
Yeah.
So Joe was on a set one day.
Oh, right.
On
That makes sense. Yeah.
a film called Titan, I think, or something like that. Funny enough, J-Lo was the main actress in that one.
Oh, really? Did you go up to her and remind her about South Park in case you didn't?
Oh no! But the other thing was like I found out that she was the lead on it only when the movie came out. When I was working on it, I had no idea who's like. Is it Titanic? No, it's not Titanic.
It's definitely Titanic.
Something side and related.
So did you recognize Joe or did he recognize you?
I recognize him.
You recognized him?
Yeah, he will not recognize me. No, in the perspective that he has so many students and people come over, right? And I wasn't regular or anything. I just came a couple of times. I just remember he was wearing these wide Aladdin trousers always.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize you saw Joe. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense because he's on the film sets. He does a lot of film work.
Yeah. First thing I told him, like, dude, bit overweight. And he was like, yeah, I know.
That's what you said to him?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
That's what men do. We just honest with each other. We don't do, oh my God, you look amazing. And then go around.
Women don't do that.
They do.
And they, again, they don't sound like
They
that.
do.
No, they don't.
In our heads. The biggest difference comparing it with other dances is the head movements.
Yeah.
There's no other dance where they have such a wild head movements, right?
Yeah.
And is it true that like sometimes they don't see and they smack their heads like girls?
Well, I hope not.
I just imagine this would be like a Final Destination kind of thing. Smack.
No. I think you get influenced by your films now. The ones that you've been. No. You got to be careful because there's a lot of like head.
How would you explain that head? Like if I'm gonna put a video in, but like how would you explain if there's no video?
Well, it's the rotation of the head. So like you keep your feet going to the rhythm, but at the same time you're rotating your head, but in sync with your partner. You're
like
not just
Tasmanian devil. And Arnie.
that's thanks. Yeah, you've represented it really, really well there. That's exactly what it is.
Because there's a crazy movement now. Like there's this guy who does the Arnie's noises, but on everything. Right. Like there's animal running around. I gotta jump. and then I would love to have a Zook video where the girl is waving and she goes, I like to dance.
You're gonna for all the people that might have been interested in Zook. Until now, I think you've just killed it for them completely.
They're going to be like, what is it? I need to know.
It's different. It's so different because, again, there's no other dance like it. There isn't. And it's just, but you got to be careful. You got to be careful. And you also got to really, rely on your partner because in those moments you can't see, around you. So your partner's got to really kind of be aware. Yeah. They've got to have a good spatial awareness to make sure you don't whack anyone.
Don't whack anyone.
You don't whack anyone.
But that's the thing, like the guy has to be the one straight up and girl goes full on. What if they both would go that way? That would be tough.
Well, no, there are some movies where both of them we both rotate at the same time, but not with but
Not as crazy.
Yeah, but that's trust, right? That's trust, kind of communication. It's a different form of communication with your partner, kind of eye contact, body language, kind of the hold, it's so many things that happen at the same time.
It's a very interesting neck exercise, actually, for women who do this for a while. Their necks are strong.
Yeah. I mean, I think you've got to strengthen your neck. I mean, I've got scoliosis, right? So like my back condition means that I'm more susceptible to neck injuries, which I've had as well because of the weakness on the right-hand side. So, I have to do like specific back exercises and neck exercises to keep them strong and engaged before I start dancing. Because otherwise, I mean, I've had so many instances where, I couldn't move after the dance because, there's a weak spot that's been triggered because, whatever, the dance.
After this video, no one is going to want to dance Zook.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I think as long as you're like aware of your body awareness and kind of you have the right exercises to warm up and, you take care of your body, you know what your weak spots are. Obviously, not everyone has scoliosis, but people might have different things. Then it's manageable. I mean, I'm loving it at the moment. I really feel like, I don't know what I would do without dancing in my life.
Yeah. You would not be dancing then?
Well, yeah. I mean, apart from that, stating the bleeding obvious, but yeah.
No, cool. I think it's amazing, the social aspect as well. The idea that they call it social dancing. And especially nowadays when people, like, let's say if you want to meet someone, if you want to meet a romantic partner or just meet new people, that is an amazing place. You don't want to need to go to clubbing where people are drunk and wasted or whatever. I mean, Zouk people still can be a little bit wasted.
No, I mean, they can be, but from my
tougher.
experience, there's no kind of, at least from the experience that I've had, from what I've seen, there's no drinking kind of culture within Zouk.
Yeah, same thing. It's like more like aerobics, like training. You just go and do a little cardio and the movement.
Yeah, so it's healthy, it's sociable, it's not expensive, it's like a hobby. It's like tick, 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 basically. Right? It kind of helps you improve your confidence, your self-belief. That definitely helps over the years.
Yeah.
I remember in the beginning, I was like really always in the background, always in the background.
And now you're right in front on the table.
Right on the front of the table. Yeah, now I'm doing
That's what's up.
Now I'm doing one of your moves.
No,
I'm not at the front, but I just feel more comfortable now, you know. Yeah.
But for girls, it's easy. Guys need to get that confidence. Guys need to ask girls to dance. I mean, some girls do ask dance as well.
Yeah, I mean...
Which is kind of weird.
Really?
Yeah, it is weird.
Why?
Because when people come from, like, cultures of, I don't know, in Eastern Europe, we go to balls or whatever, like a social dancing, the girl would never ask a guy to dance. It's only a guy asks a girl. That's the part of the chivalry.
Yeah.
Chivalry.
But it's just what you're used to, isn't it? If you were used to it the other way around, then that would be normal. It's just whatever your context is, I think, or whatever's normal and what you've been exposed to. But now I think a lot more women are, I think it's good. I think it's a good thing. Like a lot of women are asking, I ask sometimes a guy if he wants to dance. It works both ways, Women are leading as well, which I think is really good. So women lead and other followers, sometimes men follow. It's just kind of, you can...
Very interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
It just opens up, to a different approach, I guess. Because, for me, first time I saw two girls dancing, I'm like, you can imagine what I thought.
Oh, go on.
I'm not going to say that out loud.
Oh, yeah.
But two girls dancing,
Yeah.
But then a girl leading a guy, I haven't seen that before.
Yeah.
I know two dudes dancing.
Yeah. No, it's super cool. It just kind of changes the dynamic completely, Yeah. I think it works.
That's cool. Okay, that's dancing. We spoke about dancing. That's great. So this is how we met. And then I think the next thing probably we can start talking about, which I remember I think it was coaching. Yeah, when you start talking about coaching.
By the way,
and stuff.
Have you seen, because what you just did there, the way you kind of segmented one, topic to the other, right? Very kind of...
very professional.
Very professional. It reminded me of, have you seen Ricky Gervais with Carl Pilkington? I'm sure I've told you about Carl Pilkington before.
Probably need to see him.
Oh, he's so funny. Their dynamic is so funny. So they do a podcast way back. Well, it's a podcast, or I don't know whatever you want to call it. Let's call it a podcast, where Carl Pilkington, he is teaching English, and Ricky Gervais is asking him questions where he's teaching English. And it's just, it's hilarious. You haven't seen it, you have to watch it. You have to reference it in this clip, because the dynamic between them is just, it's spot on. Because Carl gives the most basic, simple answers, and Ricky Gervais just cracks up at him all the time. So they really bounce off each other really well. And I think it was the beginning of their time together, because after that they started doing other work like Idiot Abroad. I think they did the podcast, which became animations. Have you not seen them? What?
Probably seen them, but need to see it.
Okay, honestly.
When you tell, is your microphone a fist away, by the way?
I don't know, is that a fist?
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering about.
It is not.
One thing, Laura, in the very beginning of the podcast, is said, make sure you have that. She's already there.
Well, because I move, isn't it? What do you want? Sit like this.
Cool, coaching.
Yes.
That is a pretty huge subject to talk about. And you got interested into that. When, how, why?
When, how?
What disaster happened in your life?
Which question? When, how, why?
The life coaching, the coaching and life coaching. What is it? Is it right to say life coaching? Because there's so many different kinds of coaching.
Yeah, it sits in the life coaching bracket, but I always kind of focus on the fact that it's mindset coaching within the space of careers. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of, because life coaching can be a range of things, right? It can be like relationship coaching, it can be spirituality.
Coolness coaching. I would be a coolness coach.
Yeah, you would.
How to not to be cool.
Yeah, that's about right. That sounds about accurate.
You want to make fool out of yourself? Come to RENARS school.
To RENARS, that's the one. Exactly.
First 25 lessons for free.
Mm-hmm. I think it'd be great, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
You'll be first one.
You got another niche, huh?
First, how not to be cool.
Well, I'd be there and I'd get an A star straight away, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
You never left that area.
Huh?
Not to be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you decided that something regarding careers and stuff. And it was funny enough because I do remember that you were telling me about it, and I had this idea that I would like to help people as well with their career choices. Did I tell you about all this idea that I want to create this website where youngsters who are struggling to make their decisions about where they're going to go after the high school, what uni they're going to study, so before that they need to be somehow influenced, inspired by someone who gives them example, like this is what it is to be a doctor, this is what it is to be a teacher or whatever, astronaut. And then a lot of times, you know, when kids are just so young and they don't know enough, they just like, okay, I'm going to be doctor because I can afford Mercedes or I can afford a big house. But they don't see like, oh, you're going to be seeing people dying almost every day on your table kind of thing. So that's why I was looking into it. And I still, once in a while, consider that. Anyways, so.
I don't remember that conversation, by the way.
Because sometimes you don't listen when I tell you. You just remember when I dance on the table and stuff, which is not very important. But when I literally like giving you, and some octopus stuff. But when I serious business, she's like just, yeah.
Well, you know what they say? It's not what you say, it's how you make the person feel, right? So because you made me feel embarrassed at that point.
Talking about me and career concept?
No, being on the table. That's why I remember that one and not the career one.
Oh.
But no, I don't know if we had that
so
conversation.
So I'll be on the table and then I'm going to give you that.
Yeah, then you talk about career and then I'll remember, yeah. No, but I honestly don't remember us talking about that. But anyhow, so are you still doing it? You didn't do it?
Well, no. It's like I had this idea. It was quite utopian in the sense like there's so many things should be done and in a way that to create this website where people literally just like someone who is 18 years old, 17 years old, and also it could be like down the line when you are older, already adult, and you want to change careers. So where do I go from now? Like, what do I do? And the biggest problem is that people are like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I want to do. So that's the biggest one. And especially nowadays when there's such a huge and vast variety of things to do, I can be this kind of, you know, professional, this or whatever. And so I kind of wanted to create this idea that they can figure out with using Myers-Briggs system as like personality test. So that will kind of give them some kind of nudge which direction they should go. But that's all we got, for example, in school. If you remember high school, when you're about to graduate, they're like going to do career day. And then when you do career day, they have like these tests you can fill out. And they can tell you, oh, you probably would be a good teacher and lawyer. And that's about it. Like, that's the direction, which is so vague. I just kind of thought like to create this, which is more specific. And at the time, I know Myers-Briggs system was the most developed. And I actually when I was in Canada, I went to their office, which was American office in Canada, cool. Myers-Briggs system, whatever. And I literally walked into their office and I'm like, yeah, I'm here from Latvia. And they're like, did you just came from Latvia? It's like, no, I've been in Canada for a while, but I just thought I gotta go and just, you know, say hi and find out. So what I wanted to ask them, is there some kind of like a basic test which I could, let's say, put on a website, and then people can go and fill it out and they're like, all our business is based on that it's all individual and you send us the data, we're going to process it. That's how we make our money. If you're going to create that as like everyone can fill it out, so what's the point for us? So they straight away didn't see the business incentive for them. Right. You know, this idiot blabbing here. But I wanted to make it like create a free concept. So anyone like in some shitty school somewhere in the middle of nowhere just goes on a website instead of paying some money for them to fill it out and to get that data, or like what kind of personality or what could you do or should do, you know. So that would be the first step. And as soon as you figure out, okay, my personality type is this and this, and these would be the professions. Let's say 5 out of hundreds. But then the question was like, how do you get like more insight of that? So then I thought to create a database of interviews where these people who've been doing these professions and having these careers for like 10, 20 years, they give you their outlook. So for example, when you would say like, oh, I want to be a stunt performer, right? And all you think is, oh yeah, we're just going to do cool falls and jumps and yeah, there's going to be... But then someone who's done it for 10 years, I can tell you, you know what? You're going to be sitting on a set for hours, sometimes doing nothing. You're going to be doing this and this. It's going to be a lot of politics involved. It's going to be all these things, right? So to kind of prepare them, not like saying like, no, you shouldn't do it, but this is the reality, right? So that's that. I wanted to create that database. And then as soon as they can figure out like, okay, so out of being firemen, policemen, whatever, I'm going to go this way.
But do you not think, so there's a couple of things. One, I remember us having the conversation about so we were in Westfields and we were having food and we were having lunch, I think, and you were telling me that you want to be a stuntman. So that conversation I remember. And obviously that was over 10 years ago now, right? Because you've been doing it for 10 years, you said. And we were talking about it and you're telling me that you wanted to do it, but you hadn't really got into it yet. And I was saying, you should try it, go and do it, encouraging you and stuff. That I remember. So it's amazing that you've then stepped into it and you were doing it for 10 years,
Yeah, was I on the table by any chance?
Thankfully you weren't, no. No, we were actually having lunch with the food on the table. So yeah, that was that. And then the other thing I want to say was, I mean, I hear what you're saying, like you want to give a perspective and share the experience that you've had with someone, but I don't know, I don't feel like there's anything like the experience itself. Because whatever you say to them is going to be skewed based on your own experience.
100%.
And then they're going to be interpreting that, and that could potentially put them off because actually, Renar said X, Y, Z, and that doesn't appeal to me, when really it could be perfect for them. So it's hard because I know what you're trying to get at, and it makes sense. It needs to be something like that. But how do you get the balance between relaying the information, sharing experience that you've had, but then, having the person decide for themselves if that works, if it doesn't work. I think there's nothing like the experience.
But don't you think that would allow them have some better idea? So I'm not saying that obviously it just would be one person representing one career profession. There would be like 10, 20. There would be, let's say, if you want to be a doctor, orthopedist, whatever. So I would have 20 videos of people who've been doing this 10, 20 years, and they tell their stories, they tell their experience. So it wouldn't be just one person or two people. It would be quite vast. But the biggest thing was, I remember that coming from a very small school in the middle of nowhere, they would say, oh yeah, so now you should do shadowing, right? So someone would say like, I want to be an architect. Well, you can shadow some of the architects. How do I get any architects? Yeah, you need to go to capital of this country, travel, pay somewhere, get money for travel, somewhere get money where you're going to be staying, and then find that person you're going to be shadowing. So without connections, without any of that, that person wouldn't be able to do that shadowing. So the closest to shadowing what you can do is to create these kind of interviews. Also, this kind of interview could be involved with the shadowing. So some reporter or a person would be next to that architect and like saying, oh, today John was doing this and this, and he looked at the buildings and he da-da-da, and then kind of show, and this kid can sit there like, oh, this is what every day means to be an architect.
Yeah, I think a combination of probably all those things would work quite well. I mean, I don't know, maybe something like that already exists and maybe we don't know, but, exposing them to people who've been in the industry and sharing their experiences, like you said, plus having the connections already there so that they can shadow. I think that's a really good thing. Plus the coaching element at the end, or as part of it, which is actually rather than telling and rather than experiencing, asking questions so that they can explore themselves after having seen it, or experienced it and heard about it, they can then explore and unpick for themselves if that's something that they think it could be right for them. So then it's like a nice kind of three-pronged approach.
Yeah. Well, this is the direction. Obviously, I wasn't sure like how it's gonna work, but that's. And the third point, or the fourth point already, was more about motivation, because youngsters in that age, one of the biggest things they're struggling with is motivation. I'm 16, 17 years old. All want to do, drink some beer and get laid. I don't think about, what am I going to do in 10 years? And that's the crazy thing. Like when we had this massive push, you're 18 years old, decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life, right? And then we looked at Americans or Westerners like, what? They just take 1 year off and they travel around the world and experience? What kind of bullshit is that? You're just wasting your time. We would say you go straight away to university. And then so many examples. And when I was studying business, I would have literally 80% of people there. They had no fucking idea what they want to do with their lives.
Yeah, no, because it's such a major decision. Like I remember thinking it, feeling it at the time, and then afterwards said it a few times. Like, how can I, as a 16, 17, 18-year-old, know what I want to do for the rest of my life? I mean, it's I mean, some people know from really early on, right? And I don't, wouldn't discount that. But I think for the majority, it's a big decision. And like, for me, I, for instance, went to lots of different seminars and weekends and tried to learn about different things. It wasn't a clear decision. I had to kind of investigate. I had to go out and kind of attend things and learn about it. Do I like this? Do I not like that? And that's the way that I kind of found HR and then learning and development. And learning and development is kind of then the avenue that I took, But that wasn't clear in my head. It was just like a stepping stone. I just knew that I wanted to do psychology, which I did at the degree. And then after that, I started attending all these kind of weekends, and then it kind of honed it down a little bit more. But it wasn't like a clear decision.
And you live in London.
Yeah.
In the sense of like you can possibly anything what you can get, the best would be here. But what if you would live somewhere up north or whatever in UK where there's, in order to get anywhere, you would need to travel for whatever hours and hours and pay for all the travels. And so many people are like, oh, my family can't afford that. So I would say stay home and just make this decision. And that's why the biggest argument was to help these kids who cannot afford to travel and go. And I saw that a lot when we did the charity for like how many Christmases my sister and her husband, they started. We would go to like very poor areas where I came from, an area like around, 100 kilometers radius. And then some areas was just, I could not believe the level of poverty there. It was incredible. So we would organize these free gifts and bring to these kids. We called ourselves the elves. Give these massive kids and like these teachers in these little schools. They couldn't believe like, where did you guys came from? And so we all like none of the sponsors were mentioned. We just said we are elves. We just bring this to these kids, right? And there were some families who were like drunks or whatever. They didn't even bring their kids to the school. So I remember as today, like honestly, it's gonna bring tears to my eyes because me and my sister, we went to some of these places where kids supposed to come and the parents were drunks, whatever. We came to this one house. We like knocked the door just opens. The parents are not at home, and these two kids, like 5 and 8 years old, like horribly dressed, like dirty clothes, whatever. Like one of them like didn't even have a shirt or whatever. It's just tiny kids. And we said, oh, like, yeah, we brought you gifts. And the first thing that kid said to me, next year we're gonna get you a gift.
Oh.
It's like, but like, so seeing these kind of things, and it's just crazy. Like, well, you like, it's great when you say like, you need to investigate. Yes, you're gonna go there, you do this, da, da, da. But the question is like, can these other people do that? But what they can is, open the phone, or there's a computer in a school. They have an entrance to the internet, right? So, and then if there would be, let's say, like to be whatever profession you choose, click on that one, and it's like 20 videos come out, and each of these guys share with their experience. Yeah, so I did this and this, how long it took me, how much it cost me, like all these kind of things. And then they could say like, oh, I have no money, I'm probably not going to have any support from my parents, but there's apparently, and because I wanted to link it with like also with banks and institutions where they can, because there were different programs for people who have like no money whatsoever. They can take the loan from the whatever government. It's not as mental as in States, right? Like 100,000 whatever loans they need to pay the rest of their life. But like even little monies when people don't have. So that was my utopian concept.
Yeah, well, I think you should do it. I think it's a.
I totally should do it.
You totally should do it. No, I think it's a
you
great
should
idea.
help me.
I would help you.
You would investigate with me together. Investigate. Eyebrows. Activate.
Activate eyebrows to investigate.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, the first thing what I thought when I met Laura was Hermione. Yeah, very wise, thanks beautiful girl, but with beautiful eyebrows.
Yeah.
Where those eyebrows
which you always remind me of.
I also call you as the goddess of Greece. You have nothing to do with Greece, right?
No, you've always thought I'm Greek and I'm not.
No, you Italian /
Spanish. Confused in the middle.
Yeah.
I really am, because the languages are so similar.
Mm.
So, yeah, I can understand both of them, but when I speak, I combine them and I make my own third language a little bit sometimes.
Cool.
Which is, yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. RENARS PODCAST.
So coaching, let's just get into the whole concept of that. First of all, when you meet people in general, and you say you're life coaching, how often do you get like reaction of like, ooh, it's like some voodoo stuff? Or do you get reaction, oh, wow, that's interesting. Or I'm heard of coaching, I need a coach. Or what is your experience?
Not really. I don't get the first one too much. You know, oh God, life coaching. Yeah, I mean, unless people are thinking it and they're not saying it, you know, that could be the case. But then at the same time, I don't go around and just kind of, you know, tell everyone. It just depends on the conversation. So, for example, yesterday I went to a book club. You'd be surprised. For the first time, it was really good actually.
Reminding a book club.
Yeah, I know. It's shocking.
That
right?
never happens.
And it was really interesting. So everyone kind of got together in this hotel lobby, and there was a good group of about 30, 40 people or so. And again, it's just really sociable.
Did they wear any clothes?
What?
Just like, there 30 people get in the hotel room.
No, hotel lobby.
Oh, lobby.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not hotel room, hotel lobby. Book club, RENARS Book Club.
Book club. Naked book club. I love that.
We're not talking about swingers club here. We're talking about book club, right?
Multitasking. Read a book. Do the thing.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so carrying on. It's the fact that you snort as well afterwards. That's what it is.
It just amplifies the magnitude of what I was just saying.
There you go. Okay, so what was my point? I forgot.
Something about lobby and naked people.
You're taking me off the course now. Book club. Yes, right. Okay, so we were talking about book clubs. Oh, no, we were talking about the kind of emotions and personal development. The point is that the crowd there were kind of very much into kind of personal development. And so the conversation naturally arose where, you know, it was...
Here's my business card. I'm a life coach.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's lots of work to do here, honey. You.
Yeah, come with me.
We're going to do group session.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it came up there because it was natural. So then, actually, funny enough, people did ask me, it's like, oh, do you do an event? Or can I have your business card? But I didn't have a business card with me. So
yeah, so unprofessional.
So unprofessional. So, yeah, I mean, you know, it just depends the crowd that you're with, really. So you just have to kind of read the room sometimes and just see, you know, who's potentially interested and who isn't. But I mean, people have different views of it. I think life coaching, because it's so broad, very subtle.
From here, I can see it's like half a meter away from your face.
It's not half a meter.
Just bring it like this. Look.
All right. Yeah?
Yeah, so much better.
Okay. So, yeah, life coaching, because it's so broad, maybe people have, you know, particular ideas about it or... but mindset coaching, when I describe what it is, people tend to be interested, actually. That's the reaction that I tend to get. People are interested in, oh, is that what you do? And tell me a bit more. And, you know, how does it work? And how do you find clients? What kind of work do you do? And
how did the whole madness of life coaching started? Because right now it's huge. It's massive. It's multi-million, billion, I don't know how much money's career.
Yeah.
No, not career, but industry. Was it, what's his name? The big guy, Tony
Robbins.
Tony Robbins. He's like the pioneer, isn't he?
I don't know if he's the one that started it, you know, from the very beginning, but obviously he
invented life coaching.
He invented it. But yeah, he is known for it because he obviously is in the States and he does a lot of work on it. And I mean, he's great. I mean, the energy and stuff that he brings.
It's pretty crazy.
I don't know if have you seen any of his clips?
I mean, it's insane. Like I've seen some of them, and also like you hear how much money people are willing to pay for like 3-4 day course, which guarantees them that they're gonna change their lives and stuff. And
but you're saying it in that tone. But for some people, it is actually
what tone?
In that kind of like
condescending.
Yeah, a little bit.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. and for some people, not everyone, but for some people, it is absolutely transformational. It is. There's certain things that unlock, or certain conversations that they have, or certain barriers that they pass, or a different way of thinking. They have, you know, shifts in their mindset that does change the trajectory of their life. So, I mean,
it's true. It's true. Like, who am I to say what? Like, that sounds like bullshit to me. Like, it sounds like bullshit to me, but the other people, that's totally different. It's the perspective and what they need. It just sometimes feels like. I need that motivation, like, I to go to gym or to do whatever in my life. I need that motivation. Well, suck it up and just do it.
Yeah, but you're okay.
It's not enough. Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, because you have that intrinsic kind of motivation that drives you, right? I mean, you can see it like with your physique as well. Like you go training.
Stop it.
Oh, yeah. No, but, you know, you have...
Oh, that was good.
That was good.
With your physique, yeah.
That was it. Do you want to do it a third time?
No,
it's all right.
Okay.
Right. So you have that motivation that you go, you get up, you do things, you jump off bridges, all that kind of stuff, right? So like I'm on the side reading my book.
Sounds like it was suicide.
No.
Just go get up and just jump off the bridge.
Yeah, no, the way I said that wasn't great. But as in like I'm reading my book on the side and you're doing your, what do you call it?
What?
Literally when you're like, you're diving from the
high
bridge.
diving in the water, yeah.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but from the bridge.
Yeah, but it's like just activity. Like riding a bicycle.
No, it's really not.
It's the same.
No, but it's very different.
It's way more fun than riding a bicycle.
Right, okay, but it's also very more challenging. It's a lot more different, right? Anyhow,
okay.
Point is that you've got the motivation, but people don't. People don't. And so they need to have some sense of like accountability or they need to kind of understand what the motivation is, internally. What is it that drives them? So like, for example, the conversations that I have with people, it's like, what are your values? What is it that what's the purpose and what's the reason that you're doing X, Y, Z? What is it that drives you? Because if you can link it, I think, to what you feel is important, then that's going to help you to keep going when you don't feel like it as well,
That's interesting. It's just that, again, like it's the upbringings, the things what are important and what are, it's just understandable. It's all about kind of the perspective what each of us we have. Like we all are individuals, right? The way you look at things, what is your outlook? To say like, what do I want to succeed in my life? Like how do I see myself? Do I want to be successful in business? Do I want to have a family? Do I want to have whatever? So since we're kids, like we are kind of embedded with those values. We're embedded with those, like, this is the thing what you should strive for. Then it means that some of those people kind of don't have that. They didn't have that kind of a pep talk from their family, pep talk from their close ones. And they said like, just live your life. Everything's going to be perfect, but it's not. So I didn't have a plan. I didn't go do an investigation like Hermione did.
Yeah, but also on top of that, even if people did have a talk with their parents, sometimes the parents, probably with good intention, they relay or they kind of share with the child what they think the child should do. Then the child goes down that path of becoming whatever, a lawyer, a doctor, but actually it's not what they want.
Yeah.
Right? So even if you have the pep talk with your parents, if it's not aligned to what you want, and sometimes it's actually that in itself is the exploration work to find out what you want.
But one of the problems then, or main problems, is that the parent doesn't say like, as long as you're happy or as long as you do what you want to do. But they mainly, especially like our parents' generation, what they would say to us would be, the money, the safety, what's the safety and guarantee that you're gonna have income and to support your family. So those are because they came from like crazy times of Great Depressions and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't a question about, I want to do the job of my dreams. It was a question about you need to make enough money to support your family.
Yeah, I think now we're in a position where it's a lot more. We're lucky, in that sense that we've got such a lot more variety, living standards. At least in the West, is better in the sense that we can do job, we can have our social life, we can do such a multitude of different things, and so we have options around what we want to do as well that maybe we didn't have so much before. But that in itself can cause like you to be stagnated, right? Which way do I go?
Yeah,
which option do I take? But that's why again, I think it's important to go inwards and kind of see try to work on like what aligns for you like internally, which is not always easy. I'm not saying like it's an easy thing.
It's very
not.
I think for me, it's definitely was very hard.
Yeah.
I still find it quite crazy. I still don't really know what the hell.
What do you mean you don't?
Well, like still there's certain things where I question myself. Like I would be like, okay, what am I doing here? Why I'm like, feels like sometimes I'm wasting my time with certain things or whatever. So I'm definitely, if you would ask me, am I better than I was 15 years ago? Definitely.
Right.
Like I'm at least feels like I'm going that direction. But yeah, about 10, 15 years ago, I was like, I don't know what's going on here. It was mainly just like to make that money, to pay your bills and stuff.
So what do you think, what is it in you that kind of allowed you to see or change path? Like what was it like a defining moment or was it?
One of the biggest ones when I was emceeing events and parties, which was my kind of hobby / extra income. As one time I emceed like one of the most challenging events. It was like for 2,000 people. I was thrown in the deep end because I was replacing the guy who usually does it. And from very beginning, I literally had people coming over like, who the fuck are you? Like, what are you doing here? Like, you like some kid here, da, da, da. But in those 3 days, I fought for their kind of recognition, and at the end, the same people come over and they said, you were better than the guy before, because it felt like you cared more and and like we had so much fun. And that's where I got in a car and I was just about to drive, and then the manager who hired me runs out like, where are you going? It's like, what? Like, microphones are given back, all good. And she's like, no, I didn't pay you yet. So that was the first time I didn't care about the money. It was just like, this is such an amazing thing I've just done.
Yeah.
So it's like, I proved myself from very beginning that I thought, what the hell? You know, I'm just messing up here. But then in the end, it was just like, wow. So that's where I was like, this is how it feels when you do what you really want to do.
Right. Okay.
You know, so, and then I was looking more for that. The same thing with podcast, the same thing, you know, with stunts. Unfortunately now feels some days like, yeah, I will pay you to do what I'm doing now. But some days I'm like, just counting hours, like, okay, just, you know.
You know, in that moment, did you feel like, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I'm curious. Did you feel like there was any shift in your belief in that moment, like on
and
that
this,
day?
ladies and gentlemen, an example of coaching time here. So,
yeah, well, I'm curious,
Yeah,
and
no.
that's
What do
that's
you
why I
ask?
like coaching, because I want to know, like, what is it that happens in those moments that makes someone change decision or make a decision or change trajectory? Like, what is it that happens? You know, so like in that, if it was like that was like a defining moment, was there any shift in your? Because you said like, this is what it feels like to do something that you enjoy, right? So was it kind of like an eye opener to say, oh, you know what, this is possible? Like,
Yeah.
it's actually a route that can be taken. One can do something and enjoy it at the same time.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
that's when it was like you tried a cuisine you never tried in your life, and you tried something like, wow, is that how food can taste actually? Yeah, it can.
Yeah.
So look for that good food, look for that adventure, you know, and then so many things then around that time start changing for me, and then I moved away from Latvia, and then I was like on total just trying to figure out where to go, what to do, going from house to house, selling cable TV in freezing Canada.
Yeah.
You know, that was also this, I can't express how thankful I am that happened, because that experience is so needed. And I think that's better than, like, obviously it's great when you have a mentor or like who's your coach and helps you. But through like these kind of hardships, you're going to get your own epiphany. And it feels like, because I went through that stuff, I feel and that was a hard stuff to do, but I'm very grateful that I did it. I feel like instead of people looking for coaches, they should just do that kind of stuff as well.
Well, it's funny that you said that. So, because as you were saying it, I thought that experience that you had, of course, it's, you know, it's valid, it's good, and it happens for different people as well. But for other people, it doesn't happen through the experience. It happens through the exploration of conversation. So going back to what you were saying before about like the weekend at like Tony Robbins weekend or those kind of things, they can have those kind of equivalent epiphanies or kind of moments of realization through being around like-minded people or having certain questions to kind of help them explore. So it can take that kind of shape as well. Or, I mean, it happens with the coaching clients that I have. It happens with the coaching clients that I have, that we kind of talk through things. It's a really, you know, non-judgmental space. So the person feels relaxed to really kind of open up and share things, and then kind of unlock certain areas or open certain doors in their mind that they hadn't opened with family members, maybe because it's too vulnerable, or friends because they're going to be judged, and they haven't had the time to go there themselves because they've been too busy. So in that dynamic where you're being held accountable to continue your thinking, where you would naturally stop your own thinking, maybe in some points, you're continuing the thinking, you're continuing the exploration, things come on the back of it, right? Like changes in the way that you think, changes therefore in your approach, your behavior, different actions that you start taking in the world, that then starts creating a different kind of belief system potentially about what you can do and what you can't do. I mean, that's like profound stuff, you know? I mean, I know it's obviously biased because I'm in coaching, but like I strongly believe in the power of it, which is why I think it's such a...
I do agree to that as well. There's no doubt. It can work for some people. It's just what I'm trying to say is like, it feels like it's a cheating. It feels like, you know, some people go through this hardship of like going through these shitty moments and really, really testing themselves physically, mentally, from all perspectives, right? And then they get that epiphany, and then they're like, okay, this is the thing. But what you offering is like, yeah, you're still going to be chill in your couch and like you're still getting, doing your job, whatever. You're still very comfortable. And then we here come together, these professionals, and help you to open your mind. On top of it, you pay us a lot of money, right? So that's the main difference. So instead of like being bare ass somewhere in the middle of forest, you're just trying to survive, and you get out there with the holy grail and say, yeah, this is the answer to all my things. Or you just pampered by life coaches. Listen, just calm down.
No, but it's not
We're just gonna talk, but it feels more like that.
So, okay, again, two things. There's always two things.
I don't sound like that.
No, that'll be three things. That I've let go, right? Two things. Number one, right, is that it's not pampering. You're kind of devaluing it a little bit, the way that you were saying that you're like pampering and kind of mollycoddling. It's not that. It's actually tough work to go into a space where people don't usually go, or they don't want to go. They become vulnerable. Sometimes when I work with clients, they get very upset and emotional about, got to be careful with those moments, right? Because the person's really kind of feeling it, they're experiencing it. So it's not flowery, kind of pampering. I think it takes a lot of guts actually to go into a place where you explore yourself. You have someone challenging you, someone that hopefully I'd like to think that you trust, you have faith in, right? To kind of work with you, side by side. It's not like kind of. It's not a diagnosis or anything like that. It's side by side, two adults kind of exploring the landscape together and going into a place where it's actually, quite painful, quite vulnerable. That's not easy. And I think the second thing is, I think it sounds like you've got a really strong belief around, what it means. That route in your head is super clear. In order to get from A to Z, one must have like a challenging and then a challenging time, and almost like in a film, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then comes the epiphany. So
Conan the Barbarian fights all these creatures and survives at the end and gets the princess.
Exactly, lovely story. That's it. Exactly. You should put that in the
just
script.
like Mario and Luigi as well. Mario, get the princess.
Right. Okay. So you should make a film like that. You should go into directing, in fact. So you've got that in your head as like a blueprint that one needs to follow in order to to get the.
It's like initiation. Like you need to work hard for your stuff.
Right, but other people have a different belief system, which is, I don't necessarily have to work hard. I can work smart, for example. And working smart is actually, I'm not saying necessarily going to a life coach, but it could look different. So, do you see what I'm saying?
No, I get it. It's again, it comes basically back to how I was raised, and that we did not have the smart option. We had the just work your ass off option.
Right.
And then hopefully survive.
Yeah.
It's like my old friends were like playing in the street, having fun, and I'm just like working my ass off.
Yeah, but it's so interesting because it's exactly, and I'm not going to get into coaching mode here, right? But if I were in coaching mode, I would and obviously if that's what the person's wanting to explore and stuff like that, I would have a conversation with them around how useful has that been, that approach. I'm not coming from the angle of saying that it's not been good, it's not useful, but just curious to know if that approach has been useful for the person, or are they just doing it by default, or are they just doing it, automatically because it's what they learn. It's learned behavior from a childhood experience, but actually, is it serving you? Because in some cases it might serve you, in which case I say keep it. But in other cases, actually, would it be better, more efficient, more pleasurable to be working it from a smart place rather than an automatic, Yeah, I
agree.
Place.
True. There's points where I notice the way I work, even, to this day or today in general, it's like that I feel like, just Renar, suck it up, work really hard. And then I'm like, I haven't slept properly. I was up too late. Like, why I'm sacrificing this? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So all I need to do, again, be more smart about it, do a proper planning, do this, like figuring out my priorities. So it's definitely not always hard work is the best option.
Yeah. And it feels like, you've got that belief really hardcore, entrenched in you, but actually just like taking distance from it and recognizing, how useful is that belief.
So in the world now, there are like supposedly two schools who said like give like certification of like being a life coach. But even then, can you like open your practice and because of that paperwork or that certificate, now you're a legit life coach, or it's still kind of gray area?
I mean, so the last time I looked into it, it was fairly recently, it's becoming more regulated, But it's still the case where someone can go into coaching and not have any qualifications and call themselves a life coach. But, you know, there's a couple of people, like even in the UK, that are quite well known. They don't have coaching qualifications, but they, you know, supposedly from testimonials, etc., they've done like a lot of good work with people and they've helped them. Having said that, you know, I'm all about getting the qualifications, right?
Yeah.
So having the coaching qualifications. So for me, it was the ILM, the Institute of Leadership and Management, initially that I did. But that just gave me the theory, like the theoretical understanding of coaching, but it didn't give me the practical kind of side. So then I went to do Animas, which is the other school of coaching, transformational coaching. And that is like, you know, a number of hours, there's, you know, assignments you got to do, there's coaching calls you got to make, there's your mentor that will watch you and supervise you, etc. And they're really good Animas. So
Funny fact, I started doing Animus as well because Laura said it's really cool. You forgot already about it.
Yeah.
I did like half of it, I think. Yeah. And then it's like in the middle of it, I realized this is not really for me.
It's not for you.
Yeah, because my main argument was like, it feels like you would need to deal with people who, there are points where like it's not really you qualified to do those things and to tell them and what, or suggest them or coach them. And it involves a lot of listening and all that kind of patience stuff. And I don't know, I had a specific type of like argument for me that I was like, I don't think that's how I see or would like to pursue this kind of career as well. Like it felt like, oh, how are you going to be looking for your future customers? Like how are you going to do that? So it all just kind of felt bit interesting. And also like while I was doing it, I met some people who haven't done any qualification. They said like, yeah, but you can just go and say you are a life coach. It's like you have expertise, experience in certain areas. So that's why I'm saying it's kind of like very interesting gray and
gray area. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think, you know, to come back to your point, listening 100% is like, you know, integral to the whole coaching process. Being present, listening. There's a really good book actually from Nancy Klein, which is called The Time to Think. And it's just such a good book. And it talks about when you're listening, you know, it's not about just kind of formulating a thought or the next thing you're going to say in your head, as you know, as one way of listening, which a lot of us tend to do anyway. It's kind of getting rid of that. And then also at the same time, it's about meeting your client where they are. So like, for example, if we're having a conversation, right? And you said something at point A, and I've latched onto that in my head and I think, oh, that's a really good point that Renar just said at point A. But then you continue talking for another 5-10 minutes. By the time that you finish, you've reached point letter D, for instance, right? So ideally, I should meet you at point D, letter D, as opposed to being attached to where I had my initial thought, which is letter A, and going back to that. So do you see, I'm meeting you where you are at letter D. You've arrived at letter D. I'm meeting you there to continue the conversation from where you've arrived. And it's such an interesting like concept, I thought, that, you know, maybe we don't give much time to unless you kind of, you know, read it in a book or come across it in a qualification or whatever. So yeah, I mean, being present, and again, that's not easy, you know, that's not easy to do. I don't think that takes practice and that's a skill. Being present, listening 100%, being naturally curious to like want to find out about people. So that's where I think that's something I naturally have. Like I'm curious to understand what happens for someone. And it's not like a feigned or like a fake kind of interest. Oh, tell me more. It's like, no, actually, I want to know what's happening in your head, like what's happening for you in that moment, right? But you said before, like the idea of telling, coaching takes on different shapes in different places. So at least for Animas, the qualification that I've done, it's not about telling. It's not about, I'm not sitting there as a guru. I don't know everything there is to know about life. You know, it's not like I have the perfect life and I just tell you how to live. I mean, that's not the way that I would want, you know, to come across in the coaching space at all. It's about asking questions to help the person explore that particular area of their life so that they can kind of make the decision that's aligned to them.
As an example would be like, so why do you think that makes you feel this way?
With that voice.
Tell me, I really want to know.
Right, exactly, yeah.
One of the things what I, again, prove, you know, I might be wrong, but it felt, and nowadays we're at that place in society, people lack more and more good friendships, like people who they could talk to heart. It feels like this life coaching or, you know, mentoring, professional, like hiring them, they just want to have that deep conversation about telling about their life, their issues, like someone would listen to them, right? And it feels like we have less and less. And even I look in my life, okay, I have maybe 3-4 friends who I know I can go and speak face to face and say, listen, this is what is going on in my life right now. Like, would be great to hear some advice.
I hope I'm one of them.
Next question. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there are some, people, again, like who are socially active, do all sorts of things considerably, or like kind of has friends, but a lot of those just acquaintances. But then they don't have those close people they can actually have this conversation. And I think in this case, men are probably the worst ones, because women, they tend to come and talk about their issues, and they're like pretty good with that social aspect. And men, they're just, I'm just going to man up and do my thing and not going to talk about it. So I'm guessing I'm kind of walking into like a psychotherapy more area, but it's still people who struggle to talk about, like, like if you're helping someone regarding their careers and their next choice, whatever, there should be some other people who can help them just to have a conversation. Like, oh, Renars, you like this and this. I remember 2 years ago you said about you should do this. Why don't you do it? So like kind of, because I found myself quite a lot of times helping some of my friends, saying like, so you're studying something but you're not really enjoying, but your argument is it's going to be good money. But you understand that you're going to work and do this, you're going to be very unhappy, and then money's not going to matter. And then they're like, oh, really? Yeah. Oh, I didn't thought about it. I was like, how did you not thought about it? But because I learned from my past and my mistakes and experience, then I can tell them that. Yeah,
I mean, so yeah, I think like that's really important to have that. If you have that in a friendship, that's special, right? And I think that is important to have in a friendship. Having said that, I think even with, the coaching kind of space, there are certain skills there that you learn that maybe your closest friends, even though, again, they try to help, don't have those specific skills. So just a really quick example might be, we're often in this kind of dialogue, which is like what we're doing here, like really back and forth, right? You talk, I say my thought, you say your thought, bam, bam, bam. But actually in the coaching space, it's not about me, and sometimes that's useful, don't get me wrong, right? Sometimes that's useful and that's what the person wants and that's what they need. Or sometimes it's the advice or like getting that guidance, which is then more mentoring than it is coaching. So the mentors walked the walk, they've taken the path, and they're just relaying and sharing what they've learned, the insights from their experience for this person to then learn from that, right? So that's kind of more mentoring in my view. But going back to this kind of conversation that you have with friends, it's rare that, what tends to happen, I find, is that sometimes the friend will listen for a little while, but then their thought, their experience will hijack their thinking, and that will come out as advice. And sometimes people don't need advice. I know that when I did the coaching qualification, I started seeing how much I was more aware or more like attuned to how much unsolicited advice I was getting from people for anything. And I was like, you know what, right now, I actually don't need or want your advice. I want to be able to continue my thinking on this without it being tainted by what you think, because I want to explore this thing myself and explore the landscape myself. And I don't think that happens that often in friendships, not because the person doesn't want to do it, but maybe because they don't know how. And that's the kind of skills that you learn in coaching, is how to, again, going back to what I said before, is how to meet the person where they are, going back to that D kind of point I said before, meet them where they are and help them continue their thinking without hijacking and going in with, well, I think that you should do X, Y, Z. Because sometimes that's not helpful.
Other thing is like, what are your friends? What is their thinking? And so very often people stick with the same friends since they're like high school, whatever. Someone who's like, outlook on life is whatever this way, and there's never going to be any like refreshing. Or that's why I'm saying to people, like, it's so important to travel. So when you travel, you live in different countries, you meet people from all over the world. Like for me, it was huge to move to Canada, but then moving to UK, to London, you go to London, anywhere you're going to go, it's going to be people from all over the world. Right. Now when I live in Bali, the same thing. And then and it's very simple, like, show me your 5 friends, I will tell you who you are, right? And like 5 friends, or whatever that is. It's more like what are their values, and that's why I'm going to be around with them.
Yeah, exactly.
But then I'm not against life coaching. I think it's a great thing, and I'm just trying to figure out how there's something missing in our society. But to be fair, it's not really, in a sense, like there are going to be times in our lives when we're not going to have people around us who could be good giving advice in certain specific areas. And that's where the life coaching comes in. But how would you say, what is the best way for people to find that specific life coach? What would you say is the direction?
I'm going to come to that in a second, but just to come back to something else that you said. So that's another point, right? It's like, yeah, what is the quality of the thinking of the person that you're getting advice from as well, which is what I think I understood from what you're saying, right? It's like, so if you are getting advice, which again, for me, coaching is not about giving advice, sure, maybe you can share a suggestion here or there, if that feels right in the dynamic that you've created and the rapport you have with your client. But for the whole part of it, it's very much about, kind of helping the client to explore. Otherwise, for me, then it sits into the kind of the mentoring bracket, or it sits in the training bracket. So it's slightly different. But if you are, looking for advice, then it's like, well, who are you getting your advice from? It's like you said, right? What's the quality of their thinking? What are their values? Well, who are you being influenced by? And I think that's a big thing. And the other thing around coaching is also the accountability part that, I wouldn't say it's like a given that every single coach has accountability woven into the sessions. I don't think that's something that's always associated. Like you think of coaching, it has to be accountability. I think some coaches, don't have that, and that's fine. That will work for some people. But for example, when I do coaching with someone, the accountability part is super strong. So like if you tell me this is important for you and we agree on an action, and the next time I see you, you've not taken the action, I would want to know why, like what's got in the way of that? Because you told me last session this is important, you've not done it, why have you not, what has got in your way? Because whatever's got in your way is most likely what's actually getting in your way most of the time, and that's what needs to be worked through. So it's, typically like a mind, because, I haven't said it yet, but it's specifically mindset. Did I say it's mindset coaching? I think I might have said. Anyway, it's mindset coaching specifically within the life coaching bracket, right, that I do. So I do mindset coaching with someone that is at the moment wanting to start their own business, or they're getting blocked, or they've started their own business and they're hitting like a brick wall. They don't know why that's happening. So then we start exploring things around like their beliefs. What do they believe that is maybe not serving them? What are the goals that they have that they're now kind of not moving forward with? Confidence, all that kind of stuff, right? So there's loads of stuff woven in. But yeah, to go back to your question, where can people find it? There's loads of coaching directories out there. So there's, Coach Me Free is a good one if you want to get free coaching sessions, actually. But that's going to be from trainee coaches, most likely. So those that are going through qualifications, maybe haven't finished them. So that's where I started. I started offering coaching sessions on Coach Me Free back in the day.
But don't you think that could be a bit kind of not the best experience if you go with someone who's just training to be? It's like, you need a medical assistance? Well, we have these free doctors. They're just learning how to be a doctor, so they can help you.
Well, yeah, you got to adjust your expectations that the person's is in a trainee position. So if you're getting it for free, then you've got to manage your expectations.
That's interesting, because that actually can be, I think it could be quite damaging for the whole industry. It's like, another example when you can get a free haircut. I remember back in Latvia, would have a haircut school, and they need to practice, and then so they do it for free. But you expect that haircut is not going to be the best. But with coaching, it's kind of a bit different. If someone never done it before, then all of a sudden they give them a trainee. Instead, I would say give a proper someone really good, but just like a teaser.
No, but the person's deciding where to find, someone isn't being assigned a trainee coach. It's not like it would be you on your own accord deciding to consider a trainee coach and going to Coach Me Free as an example, right? So, but yeah, the person is still in training. It doesn't mean that they're not any good. It just means they're still learning the skills. But in every industry, you're going to get some people that are not good as well, right? That's part of it. So, but yeah, you're going to have Coach Me Free for people that are still training. And then other than that, you kind of got Bark, which is a good platform to kind of find coaches. Instagram, is now, seems to be the place to also kind of where coaches advertise a lot. There's also, I can't remember the other platform. I can't remember at the top of my head now. There's so many different coaching platforms where you can find coaches.
What are the risks for people not to get like the right coach? It's like you're saying like, well, you try with one coach, you see how it goes and how that makes you feel. But then if there's some tough truth or something what they need to learn about themselves and they can't handle it, they're like, okay, this is not for me.
Yeah.
So where do we kind of understand which coach is good for you? Like you feel comfortable with, and then you see that there's development, there's improvement.
Yeah. Well, I think in the beginning it's important to do like introductory calls with different coaches. You know, so you do like a free, that's what I do with clients. I offer free introductory calls, which is typically like a 45-minute or an hour session it's not even a session, in fact. I always say, make it clear, this is not a coaching session. This is just a kind of like a chemistry call to get to know each other. You ask me about, what I've done, my qualifications, where I've come from, what you want to know about me in coaching. I want to know about you and kind of what's going on, where are you stuck right now, what goal are you working on that's, that you can't shift forward or you can't move forward with. And then you see, right? You see if there's like some synergy between you, if you're aligned in some way. And I would always say at least have 3 or 4 different introductory calls with different coaches and to see who you're kind of drawn to. And then people go into it at different levels of like analysis, right? Some people really go. I mean, I would go in with strong. Of
course you would.
Like I would want to know, does the person have qualifications? What are they like as a person? How long have they been doing it? What is their area of expertise? Do they have any previous clients and testimonials? I mean, all those things are important for me personally. Other people wouldn't look at any of that stuff. They would just go with how it feels.
So what if they go like, well, testimonials are insane. That's it.
What?
Well, testimonials, like someone says, well, just like we talked about self-proclaimed gurus.
Right.
So they don't have qualifications, they don't have any record, whatever, but they have like just hundreds of people say like this guy or she is the best.
Yeah.
And what would you do? You're like, yeah, let's go, or...
What are you saying? Are you asking me if I would choose a coach just based on testimonials alone?
Yeah, but it's like the best.
I don't know. I'd want to look into it more. I'd want to know a little bit more about the person. I'd want to know, I'd want to know what they're like. How do they come across? What do they stand for? I'd want to have a conversation with them. I wouldn't just be drawn in with testimonials alone. But that's me. I mean, that's not the only way of doing it. Other people, like I was saying, they go with gut feeling. They just have like, I've had people that I've had introductory calls with, and they've said to me afterwards, I just had a feeling that you were the right coach for me. And I was like, okay, that's great. I mean, if that's, I mean, obviously that's not the beginning of the conversation. We still have like the hour-long conversation, but it's in hindsight that they share that. So people make decisions differently.
So what do you think are the biggest misconceptions about life coaches in society in general?
That they give advice, that they tell
That's like
people.
number one.
I mean, it's tricky because actually, like I said, because coaching is unregulated, there are like the ICF, for instance, or the Association for Coaching, that they're trying to do their best to regulate the industry, which I think is really good. But on the whole, I mean, I don't think there's an overarching, kind of universal regulator from coaching in different countries and different continents and that kind of thing. I think the ICF are trying to kind of do their best on that front, but it's still somewhat unregulated. So yeah, so there are different types of coaching, and there are coaches that do give advice. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. That does exist, but it's not all coaching. All coaching isn't advice-based. Right? That's, in my view, kind of more mentoring. Because
I thought that's what as much as I learned from doing that course, or some of it, I found it was amazing just to, instead of telling what to do, you ask questions about certain areas.
It's incredible.
And then, that's the power of that is insane.
It is.
And you allow that person just to talk, and then all of a sudden they just answered on their question.
Yeah.
And it's, whoa.
Yeah, and then not only that, but so the examples that I've kind of heard of before, and I think they're really good, is, if someone, say for example, comes to me and they say, I mean, this is not a typical example, right? But if they say, Laura, I don't know what to do about my career, blah, blah, blah. And within the first 10 minutes, I'm like, well, you know what you should do? You should do X, Y, Z. Based on my experience, this is what you should do. And I come in with that really confident, assertive, advice-giving approach. You're gonna piss someone off, right? Most likely.
I thought you were gonna say like, "Oh, thank you, Laura. This is amazing."
No, you're likely gonna piss them off because the recipient of that is going to be like, well, hold on a minute, I just met you. Who are you to come and tell me what you think I should be doing with my life when I met you 10 minutes ago? You don't know anything about the things that I've tried, I've not tried, my challenges, the bottlenecks I've, faced, my blind spots, and you're just kind of telling me that this is the route I should take. I mean, it's just so superficial, and the person's defenses come up automatically, which I think is, makes sense. And then it's, that conversation is just completely lost because you've just gone in too quickly giving advice based on your only experience. Like you
need a foreplay, Laura.
What?
Foreplay.
Oh my God.
You can't just go.
That's how your brain works, right? It's just like anything I say, you're just like converting it to something sexual.
But foreplay could be not just sexual.
Okay, right. Tell me more. Tell me what you were thinking.
What else foreplay could be? Well, report. That's also the same thing, isn't it? Build a report, foreplay. Are those not synonyms?
I think.
English is my second language, so I always can go there.
I think you just wanted to use the word synonym, didn't you?
Yeah,
that's it.
Synonym.
Well, what happened to that thing that you were doing, where you were doing like words? You were teaching what each
They're
word
so
meant.
good. Honestly, like
you were doing YouTube stuff on that, weren't you?
Yeah, and people keep subscribing. I haven't posted anything for a year.
Really?
I just see like there's more and more subscribers. I'm explaining words on YouTube. Check it out.
As in
words with Renars.
Is that what it's called?
I think so.
Is that actually what it's called?
But it's cool. Like and so many comments. Oh, that's a great explanation. I love it. It's like really fun.
But were you just going into the depth? Because I saw them ages ago, so I can't remember.
All I did like to say, for example, word, I don't know, objection, whatever, and then I was like, so you can then I give a definition, and then I give examples we use, and then I say the synonyms and antonyms if they have antonyms.
Oh yeah, I remember antonyms. Yeah, because you were so proud that you got that word and you were telling me on the phone.
I remember one of the words was obfuscate. Oh,
it's
I remember
what?
that. Obfuscate. I already forgot what the fuck was it.
Obfuscate.
Obfuscate. Obfuscate. Yeah.
Confiscate.
No, not confiscate. Obfuscate. I will show later.
Okay. Never heard of that one.
Oh, what else? Yeah, difficult to remember now.
Yeah.
But wait, did you just like took me off my tracks?
Yeah. Good advice.
Ooh, yeah. So you earlier mentioned certain like jargon of the life coaching, like bottlenecks and stoppages, and so. No, you mentioned bottleneck.
No, I did say bottleneck, but that's not a jargon within the coaching. It's just what came to mind.
Yeah, but still, like
beliefs is more of a jargon within. It's more of a use or like known concept within coaching.
So what was bottleneck?
It's just like where someone's stuck.
Yeah, if someone's stuck. So no example in a coaching environment. When do the people get bottleneck? So it's like when they just don't know what's the solution, how to move on. Well,
I mean, it could be, often it's around beliefs. So beliefs is a big thing that I work on with someone because it's, what are the underlying beliefs that they have about themselves, or usually themselves actually. It's that self-belief that's stopping them, that's getting in their way. So, that often comes up, and then we start exploring it. Okay, so when did this belief crop up? What are the triggers? When do you think like that? Because you're not always going to be thinking like that. Right. So if you think, for example, I'm not good at public speaking, just as like a random example, that's not, I mean, I did that a while ago with someone, but that's not what I focus on now. Then that thought or that belief that you're not good at public speaking isn't going to be there all the time, right? If you're on holiday, that belief is not going to be, it's not going to be coming to the forefront of your mind. But if you're asked to do a presentation, that belief's going to crop up. So it's like, when does it crop up? How does it show up? What are the kind of, what's what I'm looking for?
Triggers?
Yeah, the triggers. What are the consequences of having that belief, right? So how does that impact you? What does it mean? It means that you can't, do public speaking. It means probably you won't stand up and talk in a group meeting. It means you won't do presentations. So it's really impacting you. And then you start looking at, and this I'm talking about one particular exercise, right? You start looking at, for me, what's like the juiciest part is like, what is the validity of that belief? Right? So you start challenging, like, how true is that belief? Have you distorted it in any way? Have you distorted the evidence that's upholding that belief? Or, what is the evidence that goes against that belief? So have you ever thought about, when maybe have you been quite good at public speaking, or, what skills do you have that you can work on that in time will make you better at public speaking? So, how much time and space have you given to questioning the validity of that belief? And then you start looking at, right, what kind of and sorry, there's another thing as well, like, how much have you generalized as well? So people tend to kind of distort, generalize, or delete information. So I'll give like more of a concrete example, right?
What about assumptions? Like someone assumes that they're just not going to be good in public speaking.
Yeah, I mean that as well. There's,
That's also like is it belief, assumption?
Well, yeah, that they can believe, without kind of much maybe evidence or kind of much thought around it, that because they're not good with people, that they're not going to be good at public speaking. They just assume that, for example, right? But they haven't given it much time and space.
And then you would explore like, where did that belief came from? It's like, why would you be convinced that just because you can't do that, you won't be able to do the other thing?
Yeah, so like typically I'd work with someone to understand by asking them questions. Again, like I'm just, emphasizing that. It's not me telling them, right? Like I'm just trying to help them explore what beliefs do you have in this area. So the area for me would be starting your own business, for example. What beliefs do you have about yourself that are holding you back, right? So like so when I start, I mean, obviously I have my own limiting beliefs as well. Just because I work in this space doesn't mean I have no limiting beliefs, like I'm immune to it. It's not the case. I just can work on them. I can recognize them now and I can work on them. Whereas before I couldn't because I didn't see them. I didn't know that this whole thing existed. So like when I started, I was thinking, where am I going from a full-time corporate, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, never having set up my own business. I mean, the only kind of entrepreneurial thing that I did when I was younger was tuition. Like, and I would take kind of tuition classes with like kids and that kind of thing, right? So I did like a little, but that was not anything major. But apart from that, I had no evidence in my head to show me that I could do what I was just about to start doing. So then I had the limiting belief, which is you only belong in corporate. You don't have any transferable skills. Where do you get off trying to be a coach, life coach, right? Or like I said, I'm more specific about mindset coaching rather than the whole bracket of life coaching. So there was loads of stuff that was getting in my way. And I thought, well, hold on a minute. If I keep thinking like that, if I keep believing this stuff without questioning it, challenging it, then I'm just going to stay in, where I am for the rest of my life.
So I think this is a really big takeaway from this conversation is the challenge your beliefs. It's like when you convinced in something or you somewhere made to believe that this is the way it is, ask you, make those questions like why? Why do you think that that's the way it is?
I would be careful what kind of question you ask yourself, because if you got to ask yourself a good quality question. Because if you ask yourself, why do I believe that I'm shit at public speaking?
Right.
You're going to get answers for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're going to open that door in your mind that gives you all the reasons to tell you why you're shit at public speaking.
Because it's one time, like back in the days.
It's almost like you've done a Google search, right? And Google's going to find you. Trust me, there's been no shortage of answers, right? Especially with limiting beliefs. But so you've got to be careful with the quality of questions. So if you're asking yourself, what evidence is contrary or what evidence goes against the idea that I'm bad at public speaking, that's a different question. Then you're going to start looking for evidence in your mind, focusing on that, like as to what things have happened for you or what things have you done, how have you approached things, public speaking or something similar in a way that boosts your kind of self-belief around that. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
That's a great way to put that. Yeah. No wonder is that what you do is that what you do.
What?
You do what you do.
I do what I do.
Yeah. Life coaching.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and then you kind of like the last part of it would be creating a belief that's more empowering, right? So something, and I always say when I work with clients, it doesn't have to be the polar opposite. You don't have to go from, I'm really bad at public speaking, or let's go back to starting your own business. I can never start my own business to I'm amazing, I'm going to start my own business tomorrow. It doesn't have to be the polar opposite, unrealistic belief. I mean, it can if you feel that is what you need to kind of help you move and shift, and that's going to drive you to kind of make some initial movements. Some of my clients are like, no, Laura, I kind of feel like that belief would be useful for me to have, but it's not too far-fetched. And anyway, but most of the time, it can be just a small tweak or like a modification of where you are, i.e., limiting belief is I'm never going to start, I don't have the skills to start my own business, and shifting that to I don't have all the skills right now. I have some of them, and the rest of them I can learn, right? That's like a slight shift, right? That's not saying I'm going to be amazing at setting up my own business. Yeah. That's just a slight modification, but it's enough to then start unlocking action.
Nice. Sounds like a voodoo stuff.
Do I get another cheer?
Voodoo stuff with mind.
Thank you very much.
Or this one? No. No, where's
that-
this one?
Yeah, I like that one.
No, that's cool. Okay, let's have another break.
Blah, blah, blah. RENARS PODCAst.
Property. We're going to talk about property now. Laura's like, I want to talk about property. I was like, okay, well, let's talk about property.
Property.
Because apparently in the UK, you don't say real estate person. You say property person. Your microphone now is literally 2 meters away. Property person. So property journey, you started a while ago. Was it, what was your first property? It was like...
Yeah, a while ago. I don't know how long ago now. I had some inheritance cash that I used to buy the first one. And then after that, is it too far? Okay. And then after that, remortgaged that property, pulled out, got the second one and the third one. Why are you looking at me like that?
Slang saying pulled out. Well, explain what do you mean by pulled out?
Good point. As in,
in real estate.
Yeah, as in, no, it's a good point. So I pulled the money back out. So I built equity in that property, means that the value of the property went up. So from the moment that I purchased it, from the moment that I remortgaged it, the value had increased because, capital appreciation, so that the property itself had gone up in value. And then that, in between, that amount in between is what you're able to borrow back again from the mortgage company.
That's cool.
Right. And it's something that's, I think it's a great opportunity in London that not other countries have, I think, which allows you then to use that money as a deposit for the next one, which is what I did.
And then since then you had a couple more properties, but also like, tell me more about the studying. Yeah, like you do a lot of courses and stuff and you learn about how to do it property. And I will like right away going to give you a question. So for example, someone who wants to have their first property in, let's say, around London. And they would say they have, I don't know, they have 30K money to put down right away, which is the first, what do you call it? Down payment. So what can they look at it? Like, what are their options? How much of mortgage they can get? Obviously, they need to see like their record of like their credit, what is it called? Credit, history, yeah. I wouldn't say credit record, credit history.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Credit record,
and all these kind of things. But so right now, like around like the area where I live here in Bracknell, so like more or less decent house, like 2 bedrooms is like 300K. It's like, nothing special. So how much is actually like, how does it work?
what do you mean? How does
So
it work?
like you need to put down payment, like what is minimum is 10%, right?
Well, no, for deposit, for rent, if you're buying it to rent, it's 25%. You want to put down as a deposit typically.
So it's 25% if you want to buy it to rent.
To rent, yeah.
What if you just want to buy it for yourself?
Yeah, well, that's different then. Then I think that's about 10% or maybe slightly more. But yeah, if you want to buy it to rent it, so I usually put down 25% deposit, and then the rest of it you can take a mortgage on it, or some people just do cash purchase as well if they can. I mean, the thing is, it all really depends on the situation the person's in. I don't think there's one piece of advice that just is applicable universally, because people are in different situations, different goals, different finances set up. Maybe, for me, the first step is always to get educated, to get informed, right, about it. Because
do a course about it.
Yeah.
2 years in uni.
No, it doesn't have to be 2 years in uni, but it does have to be so you make an informed decision. I mean, that's the approach that I would always say.
I think what I'm trying to ask is like, what are the probably main options like for someone like just you said, like, is it just renting for yourself, and that's your first property, because that's also different. If you have just for yourself, you can have like first one, then you're going to have a certain interest rate on, and then when you have a second property, there's going to be different interest rate. Yeah,
but it just depends. So it depends on the mortgage product that you get, right? So at that point in time, what is the mortgage product that you get for that property? So yeah, I mean, that's going to be dependent on the time. Obviously, recently the mortgage interests, the percentages have been quite high. I think hopefully they're coming down. They suspect later on in the year, at the beginning of next year, hopefully there's going to be a drop. And if there is a drop, I mean, it's all kind of speculative, right? If there is a drop in the mortgage rates, then the property prices are probably going to go up as well. So it's like timing it as well. And just really being clear on kind of what strategy you want to have. So, do you want a property where you're renting it? Are you doing the rent? Are you getting the tenants in? It's something that I just did recently for the last property. I did loft conversion.
Yeah, or you use the agency.
Or you use the agency. Do you have them manage it after that, or do you want to manage it? You have to make sure that you're adhering to all the legislations and everything that's needed and required. You keeping up to date with like the NRLA, which is a really good association, the National Residential Landlord Association. I'd really recommend them. They're really good. They keep you up to date with kind of new things that's happening in the industry. Any changes, obviously now in the back of the Labour government, lots of changes that are coming up. So yeah, definitely that's important. So it really depends on the person's goal.
Right. So someone who doesn't have any education, no understanding about property, real estate around. So what is the best? You said like get educated. So where do you start?
There's loads of resources. So there's like Property Hub is a good place to start. So they have like a lot of free content actually on YouTube. There's a lot of like videos, there's articles, there's things you can read, there's podcasts. They've got a really good Spotify podcast that I listen to actually every week. I think it's actually called Property Hub. So that's Rob and Rob. They kind of head that up.
Rob and Rob, yeah,
they're really good. They've got such great kind of banter between them, and they're very they've been doing it for years, so they're really informed. There's also Progressive is another company that you can go and you can pay for a course. I think they also do like an introductory. I don't know if it's free. I don't want to say it's free because I'm not sure. Either it's free or it's not.
Right.
But yeah, like Progressive are another option as well.
But what if someone like I, for example, I honestly don't want to learn anything about property. I just want to buy one. Like, is there an option for those people who just don't have time, resources to learn, understand about like for example, here, anywhere in the world, like some people say like, why don't you go vote? I was like, I don't know who to vote for, but like you should do your studies. Like, I don't have time for that. So now I said like, I want to buy a house. She's like, you should study about that shit. I was like, I don't want to study. I just want to. You show me the house. I'm like, okay, I like this one. I want to buy this one.
Yeah, there are people in the industry called deal sources. So that I'm going to use my next purchase is going to be outside of London with a deal sourcer. So that's someone who sources you a deal. A deal being a property based somewhere up north. In this case, it could be anywhere, right? Like Manchester or Stoke-on-Trent, Crewe, whatever area you want. And they would find you a deal in that area, sometimes below market, value or kind of slightly cheaper than what it's going, what it's going for. And they would present it to you as an option. And they say, RENARS, this is a property. This is the due diligence of the area. This is what the area is like. This is the rental yield that you'd get. This is the ROI. They present you with those figures.
Right.
I mean, still, I would say some time is needed because my opinion would be, or my outlook would be, look into it. I mean, just don't go.
Trust.
Yeah, well, no, it's not that I don't trust, but just don't go in completely blind. Yeah, I mean, maybe unless you've worked with a deal sourcer before, I mean, I personally wouldn't just say, okay, fine, I'm going with it straight away. I mean, some people would, but for me, I would want to look into it a little bit.
And in this case, it would be more like if it's a reference, if it's someone referred it, like a friend or whatever, say like, oh, this guy is really good.
Yeah, so I'm speaking to someone at the moment, and in order to choose him, like I put the advert out on the different property groups that I'm part of in Facebook and other places, and I asked to see, that I'm looking for this kind of criteria. This is the next property that I'm looking for. I would like to find a deal sourcer. I'm going to be investing, but I'm time poor. I don't want to put any more time in that area at the moment because I'm doing another course that that's related to coaching that is taking up more of my time. Let me know if you know anyone or if you are a deal sourcer. Then I was like inundated with loads of messages. Then you have to. So this is the time element. You have to sift through them. That takes time, right?
And what is the deal sourcer getting from it? What is the cut they get?
Oh, it's different amount of fees. Like sometimes, it's different percentage, whatever they charge. I mean, a deal sourcer in London is going to charge a high percentage. I don't know.
But they would get from you or they would get from the person who sells the property?
No, from me.
Okay.
I would have to pay them a fee. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I found this guy and, I kind of asked for testimonials and I asked for references and stuff and asked for his paperwork and everything like that. Then I went to meet him. Actually went up to Stoke-on-Trent to meet him and and I'm likely to kind of use him for the next purchase outside of London.
So what is the safety, safety net or something in case if somehow they can con you or they can, what they can do in the sense of like they can somehow give you a way worse deal than it should be.
Well, no, but the idea would be, I mean, I'm still looking, I still need to look into it, right? And this would be the first time. What is that noise?
That's rain.
Wow. It's like...
You never heard rain before?
No,
That's how the rain sounds.
Not like that. It's made much...
It's very aggressive Brucknellian rain.
Brucknellian rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what was your question? I was really put off by the rain.
So how you can be, what is your kind of a insurance that in case of they basically, cheat you?
Right. So it depends when you pay them the fee, right? So I think from this guy, from what he told me, I pay him the fee after he's sent me the property, and I think somewhat through the transaction or once I've purchased the property.
Yeah.
So if I'm paying, I don't know exactly how it was with him. I think it was along those lines. If I'm paying him after I've purchased the property, then it's quite secure, right? I mean, I would purchase it myself through my route. I'm not purchasing it via him.
Right.
I have my own mortgage advisor. I have my own solicitors, people that I've used from before. So I'm purchasing it the normal route.
Right.
He's just introduced the deal to me. So if I'm going to buy it, and then I pay him afterwards, and it's...
So now that brings me straight away. You just mentioned mortgage advisor. What was that? The solicitors.
Solicitor.
So what kind of So what are these helpers you need in order to make this happen? So what is a mortgage advisor? It's again some kind of agency, some kind of companies who provide this mortgage advisor, and then how they are dealing with they're related somehow with your bank. Like how does that work?
Yes, a mortgage advisor is, an individual or an organisation that provides that service and basically tell you what the mortgage products are on the market at the time. Mm-hmm. So do you want to get a mortgage with, NatWest, for example, or I don't know, whichever, Birmingham and Midshires. They introduce you to different mortgage providers on the market, depending on how much access they have to which products are on the market. They introduce them to you, say, Laura, if you want to take this product, it's going to last you, this is a 5-year product, that it's going to cost you this percentage in your interest repayment every month. They talk it through with you. They kind of see if that's the best route for you. And you decide together, really, if that's the route that you want to take. Okay. And they advise you.
So the mortgage advisors, then solicitor, you need it for what?
All the legal stuff, all the legal kind of back and forth and paperwork and everything that's required.
Okay.
Neither there.
And anyone else?
No, those are your two main ones. I don't feel like there's No, I'd say those are the two main ones to kind of get the whole process through, really. Yeah,
and also question is which ones you should choose. So you chose these because of reference, referral, or you just start working with them and they're like, okay, they're great.
Yeah, I mean, so this is where, nothing is like zero time. There is a bit of time that's needed because, unless you have, a reference from someone, so I'd share my, contacts with you, for example, then you wouldn't need to look into it, right? So then you've got, that you got the...
the best.
You got the best in the market, yeah, exactly. There we go.
That's the button.
What other ones do you have, apart from the ones you've played already?
That could be for the best.
That could be good. What does the green one do?
The green one.
What was that?
So that's what did he say?
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
Okay. I'm going to try to weave that in now, the conversation. Yeah.
Okay, we'll see. So and the reason why I'm asking you these very stupid questions is good because that's the level I am.
No, but it's not stupid.
No, but people who never done it. So since I've been in London, I always rented, right?
Yeah,
so a couple of years ago, I was considering to buy property here, but then I had some opportunities in Bali to invest, and then I'm but now seeing how in Bali it can be just anytime things can change,
right?
And you think you have this land, no, you don't have it anymore. What do
you mean? There's no.
Well, it's basically even though then you have the notary signing all the paperwork and it's kind of safe, legit, but then basically the government changes, something changes, and then local, in person in charge says, well, I heard a couple there was nothing for sure that happened as they would sell you land and they take the land back, let's say, but it's kind of close to those kind of situations, so you don't have a really safety, so you don't feel safe for your investment. So that's why I'm considering considering to do something here in UK, even though it's way more expensive, but it's safer in a sense. Like whatever you invested.
Yeah, that's really crazy. I didn't realize that's like.
Yeah, but also like you know, in Indonesia, like who am I? Like I have a visa, whatever. So if you're not local, if you're not citizen, like straight away, there's so many things you don't speak the language as well. So so very often, whatever they say, they call them bules, which is translation for white cow, white people
Right.
in Indonesia. So you know they can tell you one thing, but reality is different.
Right. Okay.
So. Yeah.
But I mean, I was just going to say that it's not a stupid question. They're not stupid questions because, I mean, if you've never done it, unless you've looked into it, you've done it, you wouldn't know,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I mean, I'm not too familiar on the selling side of property, even though we're doing property, you know, renting and getting tenants and doing the loft conversion and adding value and all that stuff. I'm familiar with that because I've done it. But the selling side, I've not sold any properties yet.
Right.
I don't know too much about that. I would have to go in and learn and, you know, I'd probably
But
ask
for
very
now,
basic questions.
Your focus would be to buy them, to rent them out.
Yeah.
So that would be the focus.
Yeah, I mean the shift, you know, it's funny because we were talking about coaching before, and because the coaching is mindset coaching, right? And because I've learned a lot of the things around mindset coaching and the tools, etc. So it's actually helped me a lot in property as well. It's helped me a lot in property. It's helped me in so many different areas. But property,
it's
property is one of them.
communication. It's like dealing with people's like thoughts and how people operate. So,
But not only that, but as in like what are my own limiting beliefs that are coming up and cropping up in the property area that are stopping me, like they get me to play quite small or super safe, right? So I've had a few mindset shifts myself within the property space, which means I'm doing things differently. You know, for example, the latest project of buying a property to then add value. When I say add value, I mean either do an extension or add a bedroom or, you know, add a loft conversion. So you're adding value to the property and thereby increasing the value of the asset, right? I never did that before. I would never have done that before. But the fact that I saw things, I kind of was informed and like I had the, you know, mindset shift. And also I have a property mentor. So I'd always recommend about getting a property mentor.
So you have a mentor as well?
I have a mentor within the property industry, yeah.
So
she's
mortgage advisor, solicitor,
right.
and mentor.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need a property mentor in order to buy a property.
Can you get like a package? Like a package deal somewhere. I need all three of these, please.
Yeah, I mean, but there are loads of like actual courses and, you know, where they do share their contacts and they do share resources and that's part of what you'd pay for.
But there's some kind of agencies who offer that, like package of, you need this guy, here you go.
I don't know, actually, maybe. It'd be a good thing.
New business for you.
There you go. Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. But no, property mentors, I mean, again, you don't need a mentor in order to purchase a property, but I think it's so good to have someone that's, you know, ahead of you in the sense that they've purchased. I mean, so the lady I'm working with, she's got 35 properties at the moment with her partner.
Yeah.
35. So, yeah.
How many?
35.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is it 35?
It's 35.
That's a lot.
That is a lot, right? It's 5 more than 30 and 5 less than 40. Yeah. So, yeah, and that's really useful. I hope that timing was terrible. It should have come like 30 seconds before.
But you got it though. That's the, you know, it's better later than never.
Yeah.
And then, so the ones who have 35 properties.
Yeah. How many?
How many?
Hit
35.
it. You got to hit it. Oh,
How many? 35. I don't know how it works actually.
Yeah.
What's the timing? And but then they do it like they have a company, right? So they have a on LTD, like limited company for that, or
Who are you talking about? The property mentor?
yeah, the ones who have 35 properties.
Yeah, I would say so. Most would probably, it's better to get it in a property, I think. Well, it's better to get in a company, I was going to say. But again, that depends on the situation. I wouldn't say one is better than the other. You have to really, I'd say, speak to an accountant and kind of see what your situation is. And yeah.
There's a lot of variables.
And if, there's loads of variables, yeah. Yeah.
Right. And what are the biggest kind of, again, challenges for and what the biggest challenges for people to get a mortgage and to get the property they want? So what are the things where so you can't get it, the deal's not going to happen. So someone is like, okay, I have the down payment money, I have this, but then something is missing. So is it, again, the credit score and things like that? So that it's the bank who gives the mortgage, or there's the mortgage company.
Yeah.
there's a mortgage company who deals with your bank, and then they make that their arrangement.
Yes, the mortgage company would give you the amount. So you'd put down the 25% deposit, for example, and then the mortgage company would lend you the remaining 75%.
Right.
And that's the mortgage that you've taken with that company, which you're then tied to in a product for X amount of years.
150 years.
150 years.
Yeah.
And then...
It's a good thing for your kids.
Yeah.
Pay.
And then, and then you pay them X amount every single month to,
Right.
whether it was just the interest or the capital. If you pay just the interest, then the capital doesn't come down. Right. So the capital is the whole amount that you paid for the property. So if I give an example, if you bought the property for £20, just simple figures, and you just paid the interest that you owed on that £20 and you didn't pay the capital, what it would mean is after 5 years, 10 years, the amount that you owe would still be £20 because you wouldn't have reduced that £20 capital because you've just been paying the interest.
Yeah.
Right? But if you paid the interest and the capital, then maybe by the end of the X amount of years, you'd be down to owing £5.
Yeah, it's reducing basically.
Yeah. Just depends how you approach it.
Yeah, that is interesting. The whole idea of, it's not that simple to buy it. I don't know how it's in Latvia, or do they have the same system, but it just feels so complex, to buy a property. I don't know, for you now, because obviously so many ins and outs and stuff, so you probably know like, okay, all you need to do is just make sure you have enough money for whatever down payment, and that's about it. But someone who is like me, who doesn't know much about it, I'm like, well, how many other things I need to consider?
Yeah.
And also like for someone, here's the thing, now someone like me whose income is not steady all the time, so that could be, do you think that could be an issue for, let's say like performers, they do contracts, so they work 3 months a year, 4 months a year, and the rest of the time they don't.
Yeah.
Would the bank would look like on a longer period of time, or they would look like a monthly, like when people have normal jobs, 8 to 5, whatever?
Yeah. Well, I think that it depends what you want to purchase. So if you want to purchase a property to rent, then they also consider the rental income as opposed to just your income. They look at how much rent can the property achieve.
Right. So that would be
is what they kind of. Whereas if you're buying the property to live in it, so as a residential, then that's different. That's going to be dependent upon your income.
Right.
And ideally you have like a stable income because you want to show them, the mortgage company wants to see that you're going to be able to repay every single month. And if you look like a risky character that's unlikely to be able to pay, then the unlikely shady guy.
Yeah.
There's so many ways that people can get into property. There's so many things that people can do. Like I was blown away, right, when I did a course and I thought, God, I didn't realize there's so many different ways. It's not just about buying property. Like there's something else called rent to rent. An example would be where you would take on a property from a landlord and you would rent it on their behalf. So you're the middle person. I have a friend of mine actually that always says London is he's from Brazil, and he said he was living here for many years, and he said, it seems like London, there's always a middle person. There's always a job for middle person. Whereas in Brazil and other countries, maybe that role, that layer doesn't exist so much. But there's like you as the middle person.
Like agents. They would have agents for everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And this role is like similar to an agent role in the sense that you would rent it from the landlord, pay them an X amount. You would charge the tenant Y amount, right? And obviously they're going to be different, so you can make a cut in between.
Yeah.
So that could be another way of getting into property without having to buy a property. The rent, you're renting it.
You would not put any capital in?
No, you wouldn't.
Just latching up like a parasite.
No.
Hey guys, I'm just going to be here in between.
No, but you're providing a service, right? Because the landlord doesn't have to rent the property out.
Yeah, and deal with this stuff,
And deal with it. And at the same time, you're providing a home for the tenant.
Yeah, well, similar to the stuff what you said, like you have that finder guy who finds the property.
Deal sourcer.
Yeah.
Find the guy.
Sounds such a weird deal sourcer.
Yeah, I think they should be called find a guy. But again, that's another thing in the industry, how you can get involved. You can do deal sourcing.
Yeah.
Right? So and again, you don't have to purchase a property in order to be a deal sourcer. So you don't, there's so many ways into property that doesn't only mean you have to buy it.
Yeah. So you can so many people in UK can say, I'm in property. I'm dealing with property. So they can sound fancy.
Especially if they put it with that voice. Right?
Yeah, I'm in property, And what are you exactly? I'm a deal sourcer. Sounds like
If
a character from your movie with Hermione, Dealsaucer.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Sounds nothing like Harry Potter, but
It's like Professor Dealsaucer.
Oh my god, on your own with that one. That needs a wah wah wah.
Where is it? No.
That's my favorite sound.
No. It's gonna be Professor Dealsaucer. No. Yes.
Do the yellow one, please.
Whatever.
But what is it that? Let me ask you a question then. What is it that attracts you to property? What is it that's making you consider, to step into it?
It would be nice to have a place to live.
That's always useful. Okay. Yeah.
Not everyone has an amazing, beautiful family house where they live. I don't know anyone like that.
Yeah.
No, it's just, again, like how much longer you want to be renting place, and then you don't really know who you're living with and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, which is not the most fun thing.
Okay.
At the same time, so do you enjoy, like, I meet so many different weird people. That's cool.
Is that you looking at me for that one?
I get a good material for my stand-up sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Like in my house, like sometimes I go to Bali for 3 months, I come back, I don't know anyone in the house. It's like, who are you?
Yeah, because you go out for months, isn't it? And then you come back and,
I go away for like up to one time I went for 7 months, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I come back, the guy's like, oh, I thought you moved out.
I just can't believe that you still rent it here. And even, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, because financially it makes total sense. Like, it's so cheap. And I always have a place to come back if I need to work here. Like, I considered, like, I could take all my shit, put in, like, storage. That probably going to cost me, like, 200, 300 pounds a month anyways. And then come here and just stay in Airbnb, whatever thing. But then, now I'm here for 5 months. Can you imagine how much Airbnb would cost me?
Yeah. You know, I'm curious, actually. Would you ever... so if you could get this stunt work, because I know you come back to Europe for stunt work, right? If you could get this stunt work out in Bali, would you just live there permanently, do you think?
What do you think?
I mean, obviously you can't get the same... I'm not talking about the same level of pay. It's not realistic to get the same level of pay, but I'm just asking if you'd... I don't know. I don't know if you would... I guess you would. I guess you'd probably stay there. You just live there permanently.
Yeah, but there's those two things would never happen. First of all, there's never would be so much work.
No, I'm saying hypothetically.
Hypothetically,
just imagine.
Oh, if I would be riding unicorns and hanging out with the ice cream ladies.
Yeah, give the little star thing.
Unicorns.
Yeah, there it is.
Hey. Yeah, hypothetically, I would just stay there.
Would you?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know if there's nothing else. So the only thing that you really come back here for is the stunt work, really.
And you.
I mean, thanks very much. Yeah.
Yeah, for work.
Yeah.
And I mean, London is the biggest film industry. We do quite a lot of movies now in Europe, but still predominantly it's London. Yeah. Anyway, so books. I did look into them, and Slight Edge, that's the title of the book, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think I've pretty much finished it, but I think I also had it before. And yeah, that book is cool. That is, I mean, it's like the title is self-explanatory, Slight Edge in everything. Yeah, Laura is falling asleep. It does that heating blanket, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah.
Turn it off.
I've got it at like number...
seriously.
I think
turn
it's
it
number
off.
7. No, it's quite warm. I like it.
No, turn it off. You're going to fall asleep.
No, I'm wide awake.
No, you're not.
I am. Michael Phelps. Carry on.
There you go. So for him was that he won by like 1/100th of a second or some stupid thing, like tiny little bit. But that's all he needed to win and get his 8th Olympic medal in the same Olympics, which is insane. Mm-hmm. So all it says about how tiny little slight advantage in pretty much anything, can make huge difference.
It's the biggest spider on the floor.
That's so relevant to what we're talking about.
Sorry,
right
I
now.
just saw it. I'm not very good.
So what do you want me to do about it?
Nothing. I'm just noticing it. But it's past
cool.
now. It's fine. Yeah, I'm fully with you.
Where is it?
It's gone. It's gone underneath.
Yeah, it's
Very
never
big.
been there. Turn your heating. You're hallucinating already. You're seeing weird shit. There's a spider there.
I'm not. No, it's fine.
I can see your eyes like.
Yeah.
Okay. And they were mentioning a lot of different books, like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is like one of the probably best self-development books. And so why you think that's a great book?
Well, it's funny because you asked me this a few times, right? About what's your favorite books? What are your favorite books? What are your favorite books? And I don't know. I don't tend to have favorites of, you ask me what are your top films or what are your top books, or I don't tend to have, favorites. I guess it's because I listen to so many different audiobooks and of course there are some that kind of inspire me, or, so the Slight Edge I thought was really good. It's a fairly simple concept, but it's just super powerful. And the idea of kind of consistently taking action, for instance, every single day, that compounded is going to take you in a different direction to if you didn't take that action every single day, right? So it's a simple idea, but it's just the way that it's written. For me, I was like, oh, it's great. It's really good. It's just very kind of very motivational. That it's just about one step at a time. It's not about the whole goal. It's not about achieving it all and rushing it. Mm-hmm. If anything, and as cliche as it is the journey that you're on most of the time. Mm-hmm. I always remind myself, like it's as soon as I reach that goal, i.e. buy the second property, I've reached it, right? Third one or loft conversion, like that. I always try to mark it and I celebrate it and I kind of...
How do you celebrate it?
So what did I do last time? So, it might be, going out for a meal with friends and like acknowledging it, and or it might be like treating myself to something. So, wellness or spa thing, for example. So, whatever it is, like it might not have to be anything huge, but for me, it's like I'm going to mark it. I'm going to do something to kind of... Yeah. But as soon as that passes, what are you on to again? You're on to the next one, yeah. Journey. So like most of the time you are on the actual journey. That's where you reside. That's where you are. Yeah. So if that's something that you're not enjoying, and of course you're not going to enjoy it every second, every hour, every day. There's going to be tough moments and you can think, oh gosh, challenging, whatever. But on the whole, if you can kind of zoom out, I zoom out and I think I enjoy it. Like most of the time, I don't feel like I'm working. Mm-hmm. I feel excited to be doing what I'm doing, and again, it's not like
No, that's great. That's how it should feel for us to exist instead of just working, especially when we work for someone else. And then that's what they were talking about in Slight Edge as well, like that idea, that feeling that you are working for someone else instead of working for yourself.
But for some people, but I think we got to be a bit careful with that, because for some people that aligns with who they are and their values, and it addresses their needs, and that will make them happy. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that if that aligns to the person. I don't want to bash it like it's a negative thing or working for someone else. I think there's a lot of positive things that can come from working for someone else. Stability. I in my office job, which is part-time, so when I was working by myself completely, there were some needs that weren't being met or addressed. So the kind of Maslow hierarchy of needs. Yeah. That sense of consistent income for me at the point wasn't there, right? Because I was still building building on the property front, on the coaching front. So I didn't want to be in a place where I was desperate to kind of, get clients straight away and kind of give that sense of desperation. So I wanted to have that sense of security where I have some income with coming through, which is the part-time job. So it was addressing that need for me alongside the need of kind of being around other people and that team. So I love working in a team, and I wasn't having that when I was working by myself. So this combination for me at the moment of working part-time role, which gives me the team, dynamic, and it gives me connection and it gives me security, plus the freedom of doing my own thing, gives me the sense of freedom, creativity, variety. That combination for me works perfectly, right? For others, it might not. Yeah. Everyone's different. But it's almost like I always say, what's the Rubik's Cube? Like, what's the combination on the Rubik's Cube that you can work out for yourself that means you are in the optimum kind of spot where you can keep going? Because if I didn't do that, I feel like in hindsight, and I knew it then and I still know it now, if I look back, if I didn't do that at that point, I think I would have been more likely to maybe have got frustrated, annoyed, not enjoyed it as much, maybe even given in. I don't know. I needed other needs to be addressed. You know what I mean?
Funny enough, I exactly know what you mean, because even though I say it's not a great idea to work for, not to work for yourself, at the same time, that's what I do. Like when I work for in stunt industry and movies, like right now I work with an amazing team, like super cool dynamics and stuff, and I love it. But I'm working for someone else.
Right.
So, and then at the same time, I'm investing money somewhere else, doing some other things. And totally, Rubik's Cube, 100%. Like I like the idea that you can be there, you can be here, you can be there. And it's not like all the eggs in one basket. I just I think this idea of that's all you get is 8 to 5 job, which again, for some people, if they have families, so that's all they have time-wise, then they spend the rest of the time.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, it's like that. What is that specific
what
combination
works for you? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Eat the frog, eat that frog,
Oh,
eat
yeah.
the frog.
Yes.
That was I think I've done it a while ago. Do you remember it?
Yeah. It was a while ago as well, but really just, I don't want to oversimplify it, but I think the main concept from what I recall was, the biggest or the task where you're getting blocked with the most, kind of doing that first. Mm-hmm. So the one that you're procrastinating on the most.
That
right?
first step. That's
Well, no, if there's like a range of tasks, so call the mortgage company,
Yeah.
right? Or, market yourself on social media, do an admin task, etc., etc. If you're finding that marketing yourself on social media is the one that you want, it's the one that you just don't want to do, then that's the one you should be doing first.
Yeah.
Get that out of the way. Eat the frog. The frog is the one that you don't want to,
Gotcha.
right?
as long as you're not in French restaurant, because in French restaurant it tastes amazing. First up, properly. The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
That one I read. I don't know. I mean, it's great to have the 4-hour week, but I think the main message is just there's so many other ways to reduce actually your work hours, like outsourcing or doing some, like, for example, for my podcast now, I have an editor who does the old editing,
Right.
but I still oversee it and I still use my time for it, but not as much as I used to. So, and that's like to figuring out, to managing how you can use your time the most useful and like what is most important for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And where your strengths are, where your passion lies, and then honing in on that and leveraging, the other things to maybe other people or resources or automate it with systems or, whatever it is. What was your thoughts on it after you've done it? Do you feel like it was the right move to get the editor in or?
I was quite, reserved in a sense of like, there's certain things he would do and I was like, how can you not see that this should be done differently?
Right.
So I would get frustrated. It was like, how he doesn't see my vision, like, and this guy probably editing like 100 other things. Like, of course he's not going to see. So for me, it was the most important to get that message to him.
Yeah.
Like to, and try to like, calm down Renars, and then explain. And as soon as we get on the same page, because I really like, now we're kind of in a level of we close to the same page, but still some work to do, but it was way better than we started. So I'm very, very happy for that. And also because this is my fourth editor, I was using other editors, but with this one, what I did a proper systematic or system concept of like how I want editing to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Literally broke it down by points, like I want this like this, this like this, this like this. And then if you have any questions, let me know.
Very systemized.
So at that point, I was like, felt like Hermione's on my right shoulder.
I knew you were going
with
there.
her eyebrows. Just like,
I knew you were going
just
there.
Do that.
with a spreadsheet and
Yeah,
everything.
spreadsheet. And number one. So,
Well, have I become Russian all of a sudden?
yeah, two things.
Yeah. But just to add quickly to that, so I think that that's also challenging because that's relinquishing control, so you're not doing it yourself. And then there's also communication, right, between you and that person. I had that when I was doing my website is, it was just so many back and forths. And it's so easy to point the finger and say they're not understanding it. But actually, what is it about your communication that's also getting it? Like, how are you contributing to it rather than always pointing the finger at them? It could also be your style of communication or your assumptions that they should know X, Y, Z when actually.
And one of the things what I use, this is from the times when I worked in corporate for Kraft Foods many years ago. I remember my boss one time told me, before you send an email, read at least 3 times, maybe 1 time out loud. And that was referring to angry emails.
Okay.
Because like he saw one of my angry emails one time. He's like, did you even like thought about before you send it? It's like, I was in a moment. It was like, big caps and all that shit and exclamation marks. And he's like, do you understand that this looks like you yelling at computer right now? So, and then since then, that's one thing what I'm keeping now in mind. Like read it and also read it. How would it sound to that person who is reading it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got quite a short fuse.
No.
Yeah. So it's
Not true. There should be a button saying denial.
Very true. So it's sort of like, how can you? So that book club I mentioned earlier on, that I went to yesterday, the naked one.
Yeah.
And I love it.
She finally admitted.
Just give in. Just have to give in sometimes. You're so persistent with it. I just have to give in. we were talking about, emotions and triggers, and when someone gets annoyed, and how to kind of increase the gap between, what I kind of went back to that phrase of between stimulus and response, there's a choice. So how can you, it's not easy, but right, but how can you like increase the gap between the stimulus or whatever it is that's triggering you and then your response to it? So your response is in fact a response and not a reflex, right? Because often we kind of like, the way that I think about it is you just automatically respond to, there's a reflex that is so quick. You haven't even thought about it and it's come out. But how can you take
So almost like survival instinct. Like, for example, if someone scares you from the corner of the house, right? Someone's survival instinct is to run.
Right.
Someone is to punch.
Yeah.
You've seen those videos where they do the prank videos and they hide somewhere and they scare their mates and the mate just punches them in the face. And then it's too late. Not enough time to say it's a prank, right? So that is reaction, right? Someone's, if we could learn to stop and think about it a little bit.
Yeah. And
yeah, but it's tough.
Yeah.
It's definitely tough. Like now I literally sometimes do this. I'm like, so.
Do you really do that? Yeah, I mean, it's good. I mean, you feel like that's your way of interrupting the pattern, right?
Yeah, and especially like, listen, I'm working with like big celebrities, big important people very often, and like one wrong word, I can get in big trouble.
Right.
So I can't just go, say whatever.
Yeah.
So I have to be very careful.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I think you found your way of kind of increasing that gap.
And just like have a little tiny like needle and just poke myself straight away with it.
That's another way you do it?
Yeah.
I'd say go with the breathing.
Okay, there was another movie, a book was with mindset, but we move on movies.
Okay, tell me what the movies.
Movie's the best because you didn't know what you want. You said something in Memento, which is Memento. Something, and you said, just because I think it's smart the way it's done. It's smart the way it's done. I don't know. I watched the trailer. I never seen that movie.
You never seen it?
Yeah.
It's really good. You know why? Because it's smart
Because
the way
it's
that
smart
it's done.
the way it's done.
Yeah, exactly. No, thanks for that.
Yeah.
No, it's actually very good. It's a good film.
Yeah.
I saw it years ago, but the way that it's done is there's a black and white kind of storyline, there's a colour storyline, and they're both happening simultaneously. I can't believe you've not seen it. It's
Believe it. Sometimes you need to believe it.
My belief system has been shaken.
Shattered.
To
the pieces.
Yeah, into millions.
Preposterous. Okay, and then there's one more movie, Home Alone.
Oh, yeah.
That's your favorite.
Yeah, every Christmas.
You have like very...
I do have favourites then, actually.
Yeah, you have very like kind of intricate books and all that, but movies, you get Home Alone.
It's a great...
That's how we roll, because it's about real estate. It all happens in the home.
Yeah.
And they're alone.
And how to protect your home.
Exactly.
If you have burglars coming in.
Burglars.
It's very funny. Every year I crack up with it.
Yeah, no, I do the same thing. For me, it's tradition.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no doubt. I just watch it. It's so good. And one of the cool things, I don't know if you've seen it, there's, I keep repeating this to my other guests, there's used to be TV series on Netflix called The Movies That Made Us. Did you see it?
I think you've told me this before.
Yeah, so, and they talk about all these classic old movies, which are literally just, the best of the best, like, Dirty Dancing, they would have Ghostbusters, they would have Jurassic Park, and one of them was Home Alone.
Right.
And the crazy thing is like these movies that literally made us and they're classics, they were so close not to happen.
Oh, really?
So the Home Alone, they closed it. The whole production was closed. All the people who worked there like, okay, the project is stopped, money's out, whatever. And then somehow something happens, producers, whatever, and they reopen new company with a new name and whatever, and then they continue doing it. Mm-hmm. And that scene when they have the water in those in the building, in the house, that was filmed in one of the schools' swimming pool. So they build a set in a swimming pool, which they can fill up with the water and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, and it's pretty cool to see. And one of the biggest things about Home Alone was the guys who did the stunts for a long time. They would call some other productions, whatever. They would ask how you made them look so real, because the things like falling backwards from the freaking staircase. It's like, that sliding and that guy goes and that's in the stunt industry. It's called flat back. So it's a very like high flat back falling on your back. And the guy said like, well, we didn't do anything. We just put a bat pag on and just go for it and try to survive. So they didn't have any secrets.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then what's the practice for that? You just keep doing it, I guess, on a soft surface until you...
No, just find concrete and just smash yourself.
Yeah.
So the practice with stunts is always about, you start with the the softest, and then you just go harder, whatever, and then you feel like, okay, so this is, what can we do? So, to make this work. But nowadays, like right now in this film, what are we doing? We put everywhere soft floors.
Right.
So, and then back in the days on that Home Alone, I'm pretty sure they just did it on concrete. So, yeah, they couldn't, because nowadays there's so many ways to fake it. They even can put a green, like a mat, and then they just CGI the surface.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you think
That's
that,
cool.
yeah, they're falling on like concrete, so on rocks, whatever, but it's a CGI and it's actually a mat.
Would you do that?
Would I do what?
Do that? Would you like have that setting where you'd fall on the mat?
Have I ever done that? Probably.
The reason I'm asking is because doesn't that feel like cheating?
It's not. Well,
Going back to what you said before, right? Like it's not.
With the stunts.
It's not hard work. It's smart work.
Yeah, look at you throwing that in my face.
Oh,
How dare you? No, it's like with the time, just things change and they realize, that they rather don't have stunt guys with broken backs
it makes
and
sense.
broken bones.
Yeah.
So the longevity for performers is much better, so they can do their thing. So
No, I think it's great. It
Yeah.
makes sense. But yeah, Home Alone's a classic. And it's very nostalgic as well. But that scene where he's falling back, I'm in stitches every time.
Yeah.
It's just so well done.
And also there's some points where when his head gets set on fire, whatever. There's certain points where they just milk the moment instead of like, okay, I'm in pain, get the fuck away from there. There's like, all that. It's just like,
Stand there for a minute.
That was cute. Listen, on this, I have one more thing for you.
What's that?
It's called Balm of Wisdom.
Okay.
So this is whether you...
I feel like I need a drum roll. Do you not have a drum roll?
No, when you talk to your younger self.
Ooh.
Oh my God.
like
But it can't
this
be
one.
longer than 2 minutes. We have
Okay.
to wrap it up.
Right.
Because I feel there's going to be speech. Ooh. Precious. Hermione turned into a different on Golem. So if you could suggest something to your younger version of yourself, but also I'm saying that to what would you suggest to people younger in general, who would like to pursue things like you pursue, like this, whether it's real estate or I think life coaching probably would be the main one. So what you could suggest them, like what maybe you would do differently?
I don't know if I do anything differently. I would take the same route that I took, which is, it's going to be different for different types of characters, but really finding out about it, just not limiting yourself to kind of automatically cast it aside and think that's not for me. That's not for me in that I can't do it. If something's drawing you in, go towards it and find out and explore and try it out if there's a way of trying it out and find the information and, do it. I mean, life's it's so short, like what's the point of that? I came across something the other day that said those, without being too pessimistic, but this is real life, right? Those that at the end of their life, when they tend to look back and actually the regrets that people have aren't around money or should have had more things. It's more about who have I spent time with and what passions have I pursued. And those are the things that people tend to regret. So I always have that in my mind to think, am I in line with, again, values and passions and actually spending time with people that I want to spend time with and doing things that I want to enjoy. So I think that's really, of course, you've got to be realistic with, the necessities in life. It's not all about that all the time. But you've got to balance it between, okay, what's needed and what's realistic and I need income because X, Y, Z. But as much as possible to be able to explore that, I think is super important. So I would say to my younger self something along those kind of lines and challenge your beliefs, because it's only when I started coming across the coaching stuff that was that was open to me. Until then, I just kind of went on autopilot with, I'm not good at that. I can do this. Or that's what I'm made for. I'm not made for that.
Because it's very interesting, like you pursuing something with the knowledge you would be helping other people, but actually the first person you help, it was yourself.
Yeah. You need a cheer for that.
It's just so majestic Renars.
There you go.
He's so wise.
Renars.
Laura, thank you so much for coming over. Listen, little music.
Pleasure.
Show me your dance moves.
Been
Come
really
on.
good.
Can we do some zouk? Oh, shit. Oh.
There we go.
Awesome.
Blah, blah, blah. RENARS PODCAST.